This conference will now be recorded.
Morning.
Start with the payroll, yeah.
Mr. LaShare. Here. Ms. Holloway.
Here.
Mr. Jensen. Here. Ms. O'Connell.
Here.
And Mr. Kish.
Here.
Sir, you have a quorum. Your first order of business should be to recognize Ms. Holloway's inability to be here and to allow her to participate by telephone.
Do I have to make that one?
Somebody needs to make it.
So moved.
You can, okay, second. So that was, Mr. LaShare. Mr. Jensen.
She's getting a shot.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next item of business would be the Pledge of Allegiance. And do we have a flag?
In the back.
Oh, in the back. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I haven't said that.
I got several communities.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, one's been so forever.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If we social distance, if we spread out 6 feet, can we take these things off?
That's up to you.
It can be 3 feet now. Oh, no, we're not in school.
But I mean, if we just spread out a little bit, I don't care if you people the same thing out there. I don't know how you feel about the masks, but you can leave it on, leave it on, but if we move a little bit.
I got no problem.
I have no problem.
And I had my shots.
My shots.
So I just don't want anybody feeling uncomfortable.
Right, move down a little, we're gonna.
I can't keep these things off.
Because, they've had shots, they can still give it to us.
I'm just sitting back. It's fine.
Just a little aside, you know, I've been watching all the TV shows, you know, all the healthcare workers, and all the people dying and stuff. And I work in the hospital. We had 4,000 employees. We didn't lose one. So,
That's
not
great.
one. We only had 2 in the ED that even caught it. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay. Next item of business, the approval of the agenda.
I have a question about the agenda. Are we gonna discuss, the search for a new attorney?
Yes, that would be under the attorney discussion.
Okay, all right, I
Item number 6.
That's all I want, that's something else.
Okay.
That's fine, thank you.
It's kind of a full blown thing.
All right.
Is, you know, partially the status of the individual that you asked to come here. It's also some feedback I've had from the board as far as how we're supposed to proceed, and I just need the board to tell me what you want me to do.
That's fine.
Okay, if the agenda is okay as suggested, as presented, need a motion to approve the agenda as proposed.
So moved.
And second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next item would be audience comments on agenda items. Are there any? Hearing none, we'll move on. You've got a copy of 2 sets of minutes. One is the continuation meeting of February 10th, and then you have the draft minutes from your last meeting on February 19th.
I make a motion to accept the draft continuation meeting minutes from February 10th.
Okay,
I second that.
okay, moved by Ms. Holloway and seconded by Ms. O'Connell. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Now we've got the February 19th minutes.
I move we accept the February 19th.
I'll second.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next item of business then would be the discussion of the attorney. I did speak to Mr. Urbancic with Irma Coleman Jovanovic out of Naples, and he would really like the opportunity, but he's not able to meet on the third Friday of every month. In fact, the third week of this month, he's totally booked. So either we, one, go out and look for somebody else. There are a couple other attorneys in the area that consider, or two, you consider changing your date. You would be available the second Friday or the whole, almost any time on the second week of the month. And on your agenda, you were considering changing.
Yeah, one question though would be, how does that impact you, like with the financials and everything, if we were to push it up to the second?
Does it make it too early?
We do yours typically first, because you're the first meeting we generally have, so we should be okay. Now, we might not be able to get them in the packet, they'll be sent out separately like they are now, and I think we could do it the second week, as long as we've got 10 days.
I'd like to say, it doesn't matter to me who it is. I think a search will take some time, which pushes back the Zeman project. The only reason I brought up Urbancic is I saw him on the orientation. Michelle, it was on video, so she saw him too. Very impressed with him. There were 40 people in that orientation firing questions at him, and the guy just spit out the answers. So I never met him. I don't know him. He knows him, and I think he'd be great, but it doesn't have to be him. It would just be really good and the quickest solution, because he seems extremely versed in it. But if you want to do a search, let's do a search.
He represents 3 of the communities I manage.
Yeah, it's very good.
And he's good, he's responsive. Dave knows him also.
Right, he's on one of the 4 times ceremonies.
Yeah, I mean, the guy was impressive.
Montovich, I think that's his name. I knew him from working at the county.
And he's one of the partners. Greg is just their CDP specialist.
I make the motion.
Well,
Oh, go ahead.
before you make a motion to push it forward, I think we also have to cover about daytime and nighttime.
Right.
Should we combine it?
Oh, the topic, yeah, we could
Yeah,
combine it now.
what are your thoughts? I agree that the demographic in here has changed. I agree that there are a lot more working people now. And I agree that we need to take them into serious consideration as well. It doesn't appear that there was a huge response on Nextdoor anyway,
Right.
that people cared either way. I don't know if that's a good representation or not, but that's the most obvious one.
I feel, our agenda is on the website, and if there's any issue that you're concerned about, we can contact you or one of us and share your concerns, and we'll bring it up. The other thing is, how many people really would attend in the evening compared to during the day?
That's right.
And then you're asking a lot of, one of them, working people, to change their schedule. I know you've changed yours to make this meeting, and then you have other people employed by various firms.
You're right.
And can they alter, or, like, for example, I think we pay you hourly. Is it gonna be a higher rate if you get night? So I think there's some.
No higher rate for us.
Yeah.
It's just that if you do it on Fridays, Friday nights can be problematic.
Oh, yeah.
a bit.
No.
Well, I don't even think
That
we
wouldn't
can
work.
on Friday night.
How does it impact you two?
I can fluctuate my schedule.
I can switch it around.
Because it doesn't matter. How does it impact you two?
I would like to see Friday night, but.
No, not Friday night.
But you didn't see any response on?
Well, it wasn't much.
No.
And the girls, one of the girls, Miss or Ann, put it out there on Nextdoor, and they're the ones who brought it up, and I thought it was a very good idea, but there really didn't seem to be much response to.
I think I had maybe 5 responses, comments from people, and the majority, and maybe even 4 of the 5 said that they would prefer leaving it as is.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's the best.
And then
For me, that's the best idea. You know, demographics may be changing over here, but on the south side,
Yeah.
the demographics haven't changed much, and we're old people over there, and
not my block.
I know that.
No,
I know that. I know that.
They just put a playground in over there.
That's right. So I think that for me and for my demographic, 9 o'clock in the morning is probably the best time.
Well, as I was saying, if they read the agenda, they have a concern, they can contact one of us.
Right.
And if we arrange that they could watch the meeting, but understand that once we vote on something, I don't think that's the time to bring it up and have us revisit an issue
Right.
because they weren't able to be here.
Do you feel, I don't, maybe do that, on a scale of 1 to 10, how sure are you that Greg would come on if it was a different Friday of the month date?
He would. We discussed that possibility. So,
How do you feel about that?
It's just this Friday, he couldn't make
the
it
third Friday doesn't work.
of every month.
Yeah, every month. He's got 4 other meetings on that.
Second would be better.
The second would be.
Second week, you said he's open.
Yes.
The one thing I'd like to see, I think we need to do our due diligence and interview several before you make your decision.
Okay.
Just due diligence.
Okay. How many would you like to talk to?
Yeah, great, fine with me.
Okay, I think I can get 3.
Out of name,
one might
somewhat
well.
close.
Somebody close.
Yeah, I could definitely. I know Tony Perez is available. He's in Naples. Greg.
Naples or Mark?
I don't think it's really.
No, I don't-
Collier County is.
Yeah.
And then I know 1 or 2 in Lee County. I'll see what I can get in, but I'll get you 3 CDD attorneys with CDD experience, and have them on the next agenda.
But we probably have to change the other guy can't make it the 3rd week, so we have to make it the 2nd week. So we'll
Right.
change that.
Yeah, we've got time to advertise that. So if you guys are all shaking your head, that's fine. We need a motion to change the meeting dates to the 2nd Friday. Is there any way we could say 9:30? A half hour gives me a
I would
little
think.
bit more.
It originally used to be 10, but that pushed him back.
Yeah, is 9:30? I
Yeah,
can
that's
make
fine.
9.
I work even later now.
Yeah, and I don't know if we can get the clubhouse open earlier, but I've got to set up.
Well, it's
Yeah.
later, 9:30.
Well, 9:30, that's what I was thinking, maybe they could get it set up, but.
Yeah.
earlier.
Okay,
Now, when you say,
rise already.
when you say, the next meeting will be
Second
second Friday at 9:30.
at 9:30.
Just the next meeting, not.
Oh,
Or we
it's easier.
changing all the meetings?
Well, for the rest of the year, we can publish one time.
Yeah.
If you only do it for one meeting, you've got to publish each and every one of those.
The only reason I said that is the question would be, if we do not, I don't know the other gentleman.
Yeah.
What happens if we say, this gentleman actually, or lady would be a better fit for us, why do we need to change everything? That's the only reason I asked that question. What you're doing is by changing it from now on.
It's just advertising costs.
Yeah,
I think,
we can change that.
yeah, why don't we move on it, unless it messes you up, let's move on it. Like you said, run it to the end of the year.
Yeah, and then for next year, you have to advertise again. You
Yeah.
can do it one time on an annual fiscal year basis, so you don't have to do it every month.
Yeah.
But anytime you change it, you have to do it. So the motion then would be to change the meetings to the 2nd Friday of every month for the rest of the fiscal year, which would be through September, at 9:30 a.m.
Question. The video of this, can we make that available for those people that can't come in during the day, the people who work evenings. Is it possible to have that online so that
If
you
somebody
can see
requests
this?
it right away, we can make access to it. But it's too large of a video to put it on your website. And,
Too big a file.
yeah, what we could do is send them a link and they can look at it for anyone that wants to view it.
I like that.
That's a great idea. It needs to be on the website that if you want to see it,
Yeah.
such and such, send us a link.
Okay.
We'll send you the link and you can view it, because there are not only people at evening, but some people
It's
that
a
during
good
the day.
solution too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so is there a motion to change the meetings to the second Friday of the month, beginning with the April meeting at 9:30 a.m.?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
Okay. The second would be to request 3 presentations for attorney representation for the next meeting. One being Mr. Bancek, and then I'll get 2 more.
Anybody want to make a motion?
So
I second it.
Okay, so the motion is by Mr. Bashir, Mr. Connell. Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the third is a communication I had. Now, the board at the last meeting, you said to use Dan until we got somebody else. And there was concern expressed about using Dan for the negotiations, if there are any, on the parcel 13, the LOI, and then just how, do we have authority to use them beyond this? I need some direction.
I would prefer not to. There's no rush. I think it's a big mistake. I think whoever we enter into something this big with is the new attorney, and there's no rush. One other thing, there's no rush. I think that we get the right attorney, the one we're comfortable with, we start from day one with that attorney.
has there been any discussion with Zeman about where they want to go? So I mean, we're not, as Ray said, not in any rush.
The last communication I had from them was that they expect to submit the purchase agreement, the proposed purchase agreement next week. But they haven't submitted it yet.
I want to draw your attention to one thing. If you read the letters, which are very upfront and very legit, they want to go from the LOI back right to the purchase and sale immediately. It's not the LOI, 90 days due diligence, which is normal, and then negotiate the purchase and sale. They want to go from signing the LOI right to the purchase and sale.
I'm not sure that's
Good.
They
correct.
have
'Cause
90 days,
During the
they
purchase
don't
and
have to
sale.
use them on 90 days.
Right, that's right, that's
Yeah,
right.
so-
But it's not between the LOI and the purchase and sale. They want to go directly to purchase and sale and take the 90 days there.
And what do you feel is wrong with that?
Nothing, except, I just want you to understand, there's no 90-day breather in there where they're doing due diligence. We're off to the races.
That's advantageous to us, isn't it?
I'm not saying it isn't, I'm just saying we need the attorney, the right attorney. That's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, I agree with you with the attorney. The only thing is, Cox was part of this from day one, and he does have the knowledge. It's going to take, like Cox would be the one to update the new attorney, when we decide for one. And to be left with no legal counsel, I don't think it's very smart.
We're not left with no legal counsel, we're just not entering into this project. And we haven't really needed legal counsel for a while from the looks of things. I just don't want to enter into the Zeman thing, which is a big thing, and they're big cats, unless we start from day one with a new attorney. That's my feeling. I don't think Dan should be involved in that project.
I agree.
As far as having legal counsel, if somebody stubs their toe or something, Dan said he'd do it, okay? Nothing's happened in the last year except prep Mac, and that sure as hell ain't going anywhere. So I'm not comfortable with it. I think whoever we're gonna be our attorney, they said it's a 3-year gig. I want the right guy in there for the 3-year gig. It's too easy to get burned. This place has gotten burned for over $3 million by developers. I don't want to be sitting here for the last one.
They will not require an immediate response from us.
Yeah.
If we tell them there is going to be a slight delay as we search and find a new attorney, at which time we'll let our new attorney take a look, et cetera. I don't see that to be a problem.
No, I don't either. Yeah. The only thing is, the way it's written, they want to, their words, begin negotiating the purchase and sale agreement. I can only imagine what that means, but I get it. So that's where you need the attorney. As far as them doing the due diligence, they can start this afternoon. But as far as negotiating the purchase and sale, that doesn't happen until we have a player.
I think that's the way we're gonna go.
What I told both Zeman and Scott Prepan is that any of their communication should come through me.
Yeah.
And once I get the purchase agreement that they say they're proposing, is you guys have to approve it. What I'll do is I'll scrub it and see if there's anything that jumps out totally different than everyone else, and I'll forward it to everybody, get your comments, and then, I can't share Ray's comments with anyone else.
We can
So
talk,
I'll
it's
get your
here.
comments, I'll communicate that to Zeman. Kathleen Price seems to be the individual we're working with. And then, they'll either say, no, that doesn't work, or it's gonna work, and then what we'll do is come up with something that's proposed for your next meeting.
Can I ask you a question, your opinion? Because I really need clarity on it. And I'm not insinuating anything at all, I just don't know this answer. Where they say they want to negotiate the purchase and sale agreement, that's the word they're using. In your mind or your experience, what does that mean exactly?
That means the conditions for the sale of the property.
So okay. The technicality.
It is $2 million. Now, and I've communicated, but you do have another offer on the table. Same price, almost the same agreement, from a different firm though. And it's not Scott, it's somebody else. And I just told them you have already entered into an LOI. I'm not sure that they have the experience that Zeman has. They're certainly not as upscale as what Zeman is, but it's the same price, almost all the same conditions. And so I told them I'd keep them informed. If this one fell through for some reason, we'd get back with them and they're interested. But
I think it says in here, we can't advertise.
Right.
They're roadblocked until.
Yeah, he approached us. We didn't approach them.
Yeah, right. But they're roadblocked until this purchase and sale is adjustment. So they're at least 3 or 4 months away.
Yes. Yeah, I think
I
we've
guess
got time.
you're saying 3 or 4 months away. I thought this agreement was 3 months.
Well, it's 90 days, but we're not there yet because we're waiting for the attorney. You're right, it's 90 days, but we can't enter into it without the attorney.
Right. And they are doing some due diligence now.
Yeah, I know.
They've asked me for clarification on some things. I've sent it back. Primarily, they're asking about ERCs and the calculation, and they wanted to confirm it's 120 ERCs. They teach for a 300 unit. What the cost is, and I mean that's part of your discussion today is what the charge per ERC is.
In your opinion, for lack of better words, you don't feel, your experience isn't, that the negotiation they're talking about is an end run on the $2 million to chink it away?
No, I don't.
Okay.
No, I think they're very upfront.
Yeah, I do too. I do too.
I don't have any issues with them, and I've negotiated bigger deals than that.
Yeah.
With Chicago people, that's
Yeah.
nasty.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, it's not that big, but it's just, it's doing it right.
Yes. So,
Okay.
okay. All right, so, we're going to have 3 attorneys. The next meeting will be on, in March, or, April, the second Friday, I don't have the date. The 9th, okay, so April 9th at 9:30 a.m. And, both of those have been approved. All right.
So, but to finish up with Greg.
Oh, as far,
So you want a direction on the attorney?
yes,
So-
I do.
So Dan, it's out as far as any, we're not taking
This
this.
deal.
Unless, as far as this deal, we'll just handle it, you know, with myself and the chairman. I'll keep him informed all along, and if I get anything in writing, then I'll share that with the whole board, but it'll come back to the next board meeting for discussion before, you know, I mean, we would never make an offer to them that wasn't presented or approved by the board. That just, I don't do that.
No. A little out of line, but because it's here and now. Do you know what we're charging for ERC for the Seaman project? Is it 0.6?
0.4.
0.4?
Or, yeah, 0.4.
Yeah.
It's 0.4.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
And that wasn't negotiated with them, that's what your current
That's what
structure
the rate
is.
say.
okay. I'm just asking. And I don't want to escalate, I just want to ask so I get it because I don't. What is the ERC per slip over there?
Point for the bigger boats, it ranges
40 feet and up.
from 0.08.
40 feet and up is 0.4.
Yeah.
So it's the same as an RV,
Yes.
Yes.
which makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
Okay. All right. So Dan's not involved in the Zeman, and if we've got small legal issues, then we use Dan until you select somebody else.
Correct.
All right. Good. Moving right along, then the next item would be the landscape maintenance. Robert, you're up. What? And you do have a copy of his last report.
Good morning, everyone. Did my dry around this month, I'm sorry, with Michelle, and we went through Newport Drive. Everything seems to be good there. Besides, we did replace the battery timers on the battery operated remote for the valves that are not connected to the timer. They have been replaced. It's starting to get dry, so I want to make sure all our irrigation is up and running and working properly. So that area has all been addressed. The fertilizing on the 410 areas that we do fertilize have all been completed. I gave the dates of when it was done. 41 median, we did cut back all the crepe myrtles that are in the median that we normally do for better bloom in the summer. All the millie grass, we went ahead and cut them all back, and all grasses, except the Fakahatchee grasses, just to prevent any fire hazards, cigarette butts being thrown into the median. We don't need them to catch fire, so that's the reason we do trim them, because they are, very fire prone, and we don't need nothing to happen in there, especially this time of the year until we get to the rainy season. Clear completely missed my notes. There's no North Pole. She meant the pond. So,
That's right.
yeah, so I apologize. I saw that right now. And the plant, when we were doing our dry around, we still noticed only the north pond planted. The south and the middle ones have not yet been planted with the aquatics. I don't know if they've done them already, but I just wanted to point that out.
April.
April? Okay,
Well, they'll
so-
do one of them in April, the other one. in
Okay,
May.
all right, so just wanted to bring that, as we were looking at the property, we did see that. The other one, the water plant, everything, it's all good over there. I did show Michelle the big canary Isle Day palm that we have in the middle of Kay's Drive is starting to go. So I will propose on removing that palm tree. The only selection that we can put inside that little islands in the future would be trees. We can't plant any type of palm trees because it is in the soil and it is airborne. Ganoderma. So I don't recommend any type of palm. If we do, it's got to be like an ornamental tree that flowers or something that we can put back in those areas after the removal. I will submit that. I don't know if Blair sent it to you guys on this package. If not, I will submit it on the following with the hardwood trimming that we talked about a couple of months back. After beginning of spring, to go ahead and propose the hardwoods. I'll get a count with Michelle of the total trees that need to be trimmed. And I will submit that for probably for April, May to be trimmed.
Is there any objections? You can get it before their next board meeting?
Yeah.
Or?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I can submit all that. It really, the trees are barely starting to get all their foliage back from all the leaf fall, and so I want them to get a little bit more heavier. We actually don't do them until April, May, but I want to be ready so when the opportunity comes, they just get them. They can take
Is
care of
it okay if Robert works with Michelle and comes up with a recommended replacement for that canary palm?
It's going to be open. It's going to be very bare. We've had a total of 3 already removed in the same area. So once we remove this, is the last one. Yeah.
Were they originally planted there, or?
Yeah, this goes
must be,
back.
right?
Yeah, this was original planting since day one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's over 30 years probably now. So, we'll I'll come up with a plan with her on that. We'll get the hardwood counts. I'll make sure I got a count with her so all the numbers are accurate. We'll go from there. That's pretty much it. It wasn't too crazy.
Now on the hardwoods, okay? How do you do that as far as, like an oak tree sitting on the front of, private property, not just in the medians, but I mean, you know what I mean? Some of these oak trees are getting really big and, overhang the individual streets. You trim those too? Is that part of the count, or?
No, it's only the ones that pertain to you guys as a CID. That's the only ones that we actually propose, common areas, yeah. Yeah, anything on residential and stuff like that are getting
Okay,
too big.
even like in the front of your development, okay, folks, not in the median, but on the front lawn?
No, that's the villages.
Buildings.
Villages says, and they do trim them, but as an RVer, from my RV
Oh, I
down
know,
there,
it's hard.
it's like this.
Yeah.
To get around those, so.
Then how do we make sure
Nice if
everything
they
is
was
Yeah,
trimmed?
but look but my block, they're hanging over the road. I have to go on the wrong side of the road, otherwise I scratch my vehicle.
Well, that's what I mean, how do we make sure those get?
Those are street trees. That are,
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
private. They're private.
They're private, they
They're
have
private,
to trim.
They're not the road right away?
No, not the ones.
Yeah, but they're overhanging CID, it's CID airspace or something?
Yeah.
Well, if they're on your property, or if they're hanging over your property, you can trim them.
No, this is hanging over the street.
Right. That's your property.
Yeah, I know,
You
we
can
just
just
go
go
but
straight up.
a lot of them are not,
Well,
they're
you
not.
could, I mean.
There is a line.
Yeah.
If you really,
Yeah.
there is a line, but I think it's more of the homeowner's responsibility in general to take responsibility for the
Yes.
trees. If we start trimming trees and start doing this, it's not gonna be right. It's gonna throw a tree off balance. It's not healthy for the tree.
Well, I get it, but it's,
Yeah, I think maybe a letter should be sent out because there is a clearance. And the reason we do our trimming on our roads and every year we do it is because there has to be a 14-foot clearance of height for any ambulance or utility truck or, 14 foot is.
but that's all well and good until you go down the street and then you don't have the 40.
Yeah, there has to be some timing, for an emergency vehicle, there has to be a 14-foot clearance, and that's just the law throughout any property.
I would suggest what we call the carrot and stick. You send them a letter saying that it overhangs and according to county law, et cetera, whatever.
Right.
14 feet. If
Yes.
it's not taken care of, we will trim it. However, we will trim it straight up and it will not be
A proper trim.
advantageous to you as the property owner. Carrot and stick.
That's a blind guy who doesn't trim it too.
That's carrot and stick.
So that's kind of where that stands, and that's really why we do this every year on the hardwoods.
Yeah.
Normally we can get away with it every 2 years, but you guys, your trees are in the median, so they always have to be kept.
So in other words, when we make this drive this time, we're asking you to
Check the overhang.
locate the low hangers, right, private
Send them to
property,
us
so that we
and
can
we'll
send
send
out.
them
That's fine, I can do that with Michelle and write down the report.
Okay, it'll take you a little longer.
Yeah,
Do you do the villages or is that Big Cypress?
I think it's Big Cypress.
Big Cypress.
Yeah.
Because a letter to the villages saying that such and such needs to be done, they can get their contractor to take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's that's who they would have to go to. You know, and they do offer that service as well, so shouldn't be an issue for them.
The erosion around that catch basin on US 41 in the median, that there's erosion around there. We need to get that filled in
Okay,
quick.
I'll look at that
It's
before we get.
dry right now and it's gonna get wet.
Okay, I'll look at it.
The landscape lights on Case Drive, are you gonna have your electrician look at that, or do you want us to get an electrician?
I'll look at that.
You say landscape lights on Case Drive. There's some lights out there that the villas put out there.
And those are all,
Photo cells, maybe?
oh, okay, so photovoltaic, they're not.
I'll look at the ones that we do. We probably do need to do a complete and readjust the timing to the new times too as well. So
Yeah,
I have to
Chris
just do a
adjusted
maintenance.
some of the timers
Yeah.
last time he was out.
Yeah, we'll do the maintenance on that as well, so, in the catch basin. And that's pretty much it. I'll have some proposals here next month and we'll go from there. We'll get some approvals and recommendations on that landscape stuff in the median. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got one other question while we're talking about landscaping and stuff. Some of the new people that weren't here before when we cleaned up the berms and stuff, what's the rule as far as they're starting to plant some shrubs and some of them are
Yeah.
in the swales again? You know what I mean?
Okay.
That's a no-no.
Not any, well, what's part of the swale? I mean, as soon as they strip it down, they're starting to put, not in the
Is
base
it
of
in
the
the dip
swale,
or up
but
on the bank?
it's on the bank.
I would say on the very top of the bank is probably feasible, but we don't want anything on the side slopes or in the.
So how do we know?
There's a certain distance from the seawall back, isn't there?
As far as the drainage easement?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is, there is.
So that's it?
Yeah. It
The
really,
easement.
you know, if there's small shrubs, it's one thing, we don't want anything big on top of the berm itself.
Even on top of the berm, you know? 'Cause-
Ideally not,
Because
because
it's
there's the
right,
roots.
I was gonna say, the roots.
Yeah.
Problem.
Slow down the water.
Well, the roots sometimes undermine, can cause fissures in the bank, the seawall bank. So that's not a good thing either.
yeah,
It makes it more susceptible to blowouts.
so they should not build on top, really,
It shouldn't really be on top or anywhere in that drainage easement.
But what about that house on my block? He's right up.
Yeah, it's gonna be, there won't be any landscaping there, but it's
Yeah,
like this.
no, from where his wall is, you're talking about the owner builder,
Yeah.
74, is it?
174.
Yeah, he's gonna bring that berm, the existing, the new finished drainage area from the seawall berm back into the house and terminate it there. I saw him this morning, I stopped off there, and, he's on board with what we suggested doing.
because, you know, I have an ongoing thing, not me, but there's an ongoing thing. You know that gray house at the end of my street? You get the big oak and then you get that gray house. Did you work on this property at all or was it
Not
somebody
the
else?
drainage, no, somebody else.
Because they just planted a bunch of stuff on top. And they got something in the swale.
Solid after this.
I don't know.
The street.
Cul-de-sac, right?
Yeah, it's on the cul-de-sac. It's the gray house. You know,
Right, at the cul-de-sac.
yeah, he's got stuff on top and they're big. I mean, he's got the same bushes along the side of his house that he put on top of his
The street, sorry.
Woodward Canyon.
Woodward Canyon.
Yeah, he's got a hibiscus that he's put in the swale. And then he's got these like dusty blue bushes that they're already 8 foot tall by the side of his house. He just put them in last year and they grew like 4 feet. I don't know.
They'll grow quick.
Yeah, but now he's got them on top of the swale in the back.
I'll take a look at that before I.
All right? Thank you. Yeah, you guys.
All right, Rich, you're up, buddy.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Nothing exciting to report this month. The water plant is running good as always. No issues, just some minor maintenance like always. The wastewater plant, kind of the same, no issues. One of the air compressors, the motor went bad on it. We replaced it. Other than that, just normal maintenance. The canal station it's running fine. The lift stations, they're all running good, no issues. There's one I talked to Cal about on Newport, halfway down Newport. It's on the berm, it's kind of leaning over, the panel's starting to get rotted out. So that's something we'll want to look at replacing in the near future.
We identified that as a projected expense in the budget.
The reuse station, at the plant, it's working fine. Distribution, same amount of meter reads and research requests as normal. We did install a half dozen of electronic meters. That software has been downloaded at our office, and we've been out and read those several times, just doing dry runs. So we're really excited to get the rest of those and start getting them in the ground. It's going to be good. Other than that, nothing.
When you say you're looking at the newbies, are you comparing the usage compared to a normal bill?
So I have not compared that. I just am excited about it is reading every drop that goes through. Plus, we can just drive by and get that reading and see the history. So I'm just saying that so far it is working the way it's supposed to as far as the equipment reading. And then when we upload it into the computer, it is uploading exactly the way it should. And then we'll
Is there
transfer
any
that
way
information
that,
to Cal.
what I'm worried about is change is good, but we don't know what this is going to do, if it's going to be good or
Yeah,
bad.
you want to see a trend report.
I don't want, all neighbors up in arms if
Yeah.
something happened none of us were aware of. Is there any way on these meters that have been put in that you could work with Cal's office and see if it's logical, what's happening?
A trend.
Yeah, I don't think they've been in long enough probably yet, but after they've been in a few months to where we can do like a whole billing cycle, then we can look
Yeah,
at
but in a
previous
few months,
months.
you might have the whole neighborhood done, and then we're not prepared.
Prepared for what? We're getting actual readings now.
I know you're getting actual readings, but we have to be sure that that's the way it is. What if these readings were quite a bit higher than the old readings?
They are going to be, that I'm
Yeah,
sure
they
of.
are going to be.
They are going to, because before some of the meters, gallons might go through. If it was going slow enough, it would never get read. Now, if 0.2 of a gallon goes through, it gets read.
So how is your office going to handle a lot of phone calls?
We'll do what we have to do.
Is it possible to take, say after a few months, compare last year?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. After they've been in like a
Yeah,
month or
wait a little
two,
bit, get
then we
them
can
reports,
compare
yeah.
them.
We can pull a history real easy on any meter, right? And we get a lot of phone calls now.
Yeah, I know, I know.
A lot.
But I mean, that's the reason we did this. So I mean,
I know, but I would just like to be, heads up. Are they going to be higher?
some people are lucky if they had meter for a while, I guess. I don't know what you're gonna
How
tell them.
about in your, a blurb for those people that get their water bills from, they get the paper water bill, that we put a letter in there or something saying that all meters are being switched out, that, you may see a higher than normal, what you consider normal because now the meters are more accurate. In other words, give them a little heads up before they get there so they don't all of a sudden go, why all of a sudden? If you send it to them and put it in the water bill and say, hey, this is coming and you may notice this, we'll let you know now.
We should also put in there too that if you have a leak, we're gonna be able to detect that much easier too, right?
You can take daily reads, right? You can tell what day if there was a spike.
So, and that we would notify them. Would we catch that?
So now we read every other month, but we're gonna read more frequently. So yes, we will catch some of that stuff. So we might not catch it the day that it happened, but instead of 2 months worth of a leak, they may only have 2 weeks worth of a leak.
Okay, well, we want to put something like that on the positive
We're
upside.
gonna do a once a month billing stick,
Yeah, we're
another
gonna
1 month
switch.
in bill. Is that?
Bill every 2 months.
Just use the word changes, not necessarily higher or lower. Just use the word changes.
You may notice they change.
And do we want to switch to once a month? Compared to 2 months? I hate 2 months.
What does it do to the cost?
It's gonna double.
Yeah,
because
well, yeah, because you get
the printing and the postage and everything, so. Do we have any you can pay online?
No,
We don't.
no, they can do auto pay,
auto pay.
but,
Through your bank.
the bank just is through the bank.
It's an ACH.
Right.
And then I have one other question. As we start putting the new meters in, I was thinking we'll go like a day or two in advance and put door hangers on the doors just to prepare
Oh, that's a good
the
idea.
residents that we're gonna be coming through.
Yeah.
So, but it'll be hard to say, all right, we're gonna do your house tomorrow, but I'm gonna try to give them just a couple day window. This date through this date, we'll be changing your meter out.
Until they get the money.
And I'm last.
Yours is already, we did it first.
Oh,
Yours
good,
water's
good.
almost tripled.
Keep an eye on that one.
That's the one with the big bow.
Yeah.
That's one that glows in the dark.
Yes,
You got John's email.
I
about
did
what
get
happened.
John's email.
So when you're putting a notice up, can you tell the people to drain their lines through the hose bib?
So we will, after we put the meter in, so
Yeah.
first of all, we're gonna vacuum out the boxes.
Right,
So there shouldn't be any debris that will get in there.
okay,
But after we install it, we'll walk up to the side of the house and just open the
turn it
hose
off.
bib and run
Okay.
it for a second.
because we
to make
got a lot
sure
of damage last time.
from the sprinklers and everything.
What about people that have locks on their hose bibs? That's what because I have a lock on my hose
Oh, then that one,
bib. So that's why you put the hangers on the door, that way people know that,
yes.
okay.
And while you're out there doing this, you know that valve on the top that shut off? A lot of them are falling apart.
Yeah.
You might,
You know, that's a great idea. We ordered a bunch of those and they all came in, so we'll do that as we go through. I'll just have them change those out. On the ones that we can, some of them I'm finding when we go out to change them, when we try to loosen the nut, it's breaking the stem off. So it may become a big issue in the near future.
Yeah.
No,
it's shut off.
Yes, it's a ball valve on the back of the backflow preventer.
Okay.
So, and some of them, it's broke off, so we put a new valve on the front, but people don't like to turn it off before the backflow preventer. So yes, that has been an issue.
And I noticed some of them, when we're putting these new meters in, is that black box
That's the black
about
box.
this big?
Yes.
Yeah. Are we replacing those lids that need to be
So
replaced?
the lid, we'll replace it if we need to, and we've been, some of them, like, of the 6 that we did, 4 went in pretty easy, 2, we had to dig the whole box up, readjust everything. So the boxes actually got moved to a different location because we couldn't make it work. So some of them are gonna be easier than others.
I bet too, they're gonna be real fun.
Yeah, if there's tree roots.
Yeah, I was gonna say, those royal palms that are right
Oh,
next to
yes.
it. Those are too fun.
Some of them are gonna be back here.
Who's responsible for I think it's the sewer line pipe that comes up in the ground?
So
That's a clean out.
if those get broken, if you call us, we'll go put the new lid on it. I mean, ultimately, we send you the bill for it, but,
Yeah.
they're not very expensive.
I know
So
in
we
construction,
replace
they're all
those.
breaking them, because these drivers don't know how to drive.
Yes.
But I noticed a neighbor where the house has been there a while, the whole top of his pipe is gone. I don't know
But
why.
you know the address or?
Yeah, it'd be good to know.
It's the second house on Kay's Drive on the left.
Okay.
Isn't that typically though a homeowner responsibility?
No, she's talking about the one that you own, the 6-inch one that's out toward the road. So that's where
okay.
they actually tie in.
All right.
That's the tying
Clean
point.
out
Yeah.
individual.
Yeah.
That's the point of demarcation between owner versus utility.
Oh, really?
Any blockage into the house is the owner's responsibility.
know, I could-
Anything from
I
the
could-
gate out to the street
Yeah.
is the utility responsibility.
I could lose a chihuahua down one of those.
You could lose it. Oh, I down one of those.
Okay, anything else for Mitch? All right, engineer's report.
Okay, good. First thing on there is new home construction and drainage issues. We kind of hit up on that a little bit in some of the earlier conversations, but there's lots of construction going on out there, driven around. So I did take the chance this morning to drive around, look at some of the places. I did take a look at the one over on, Sunset K, the owner builder. And I did have a chance to meet with the builder there and talk to him. So he's aware that he's gonna need to be dressing up that swale behind his house and so forth. It's a little ways off. He's still waiting to put the pool. There's a little pool that goes back there.
Yeah.
There is some debris in the house, in the swale, in the house next to that too. But again, it's under construction. Fortunately, we're in the dry season right now, but as we get closer to the wet season, then we're gonna need to get on it a little bit more. I did spot over on Case Drive, there's a house that pretty much almost total redo, maybe it was remodel. They put a new driveway in, and I'm going to be in contact with them about putting a concrete fiber in section on the new culvert they put underneath the new driveway. Yeah, Newport K, I'm sorry.
Oh, Newport K.
Oh, yeah, Newport.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
I was gonna say,
So-
ours.
Well, what's good is a lot of these new houses that are going in, I see they got the riprap delivered, they're reinforcing their riprap on the backside of the, on the seawall side. So that's a good thing that they're strengthening that. And it's a good time to do it before they start building, because now they can get back there and do that. Then on the CIP development, we've been out here several times looking at first off, coming up with what assets you do have and need to be looking after, and we're doing the assessment and so forth now. They've been out here once, they're out here again today, doing some assessments on the pavements, the drainage and so forth. So we know what kind of improvements that are gonna be needing to happen in the next few years, really. One thing I do need to get together with Mitch and talk to him a little bit about the utility end of it a little bit, things that may be coming up at the water, wastewater plant in the next 5-10 years, just so we're prepared for that. We can start budgeting for some of that right now, making sure that when these things come up, that there are reserves available for that work to be done. So we don't have to worry about bonding and all that kind of stuff if we can avoid it.
What about that, recon, that snake thing at the end of that it's inoperable
The
now?
MVR.
Yeah, the MVR. Are we getting rid of that?
It's offline, we don't use it. I mean,
It doesn't hurt to just leave it there, or?
it's just
And
space.
remove it?
It's,
Okay.
we can haul it off, or you can give it away, or you can let it sit there. It's
Yeah,
whatever.
probably doesn't have any salvage value.
No.
There are a few things on it that, you can take off and keep just to have, but for the most part, it's just a,
No value whatsoever.
Can I ask about that? Before I was on the board, some of us went out there and Mitch took us through the whole place, because I had a lot of questions. And we looked at that, and I asked specifically to look at that. Can you tell me quickly, how did that come about? It was between 2008, 2010, it was like $1 million, and it was when Severn Trent was running the plant. But the thing, you may not know this, but the thing hasn't run for years. It's a white elephant. How did it ever come about to begin with?
I can't really answer that question. Before my time, a little bit.
From what
don't know
I
if Mitch-
understand, it's before my time too, but what I understand is that Hartson wanted a demonstration site. And so they basically gave it to you for cost.
Oh, but how much was that?
It was about $2 million.
What nice guys.
Well, your wastewater, your water treatment plant costs $6 million. So I mean, they're expensive.
But this thing's, I'm not,
Yeah,
but it's junk.
it is junk. Yeah.
So there's no advantage, I asked you before, to take it down would cost us money, probably a lot. We can't just torch it or something, right? Or could we?
That's something George and I can take a look at.
Just to get it out of there. I have one other question. It's probably late for this. One of the things that's in your CIP is tearing down the sheet metal building that's at the plant. When I was there, he showed us a sheet metal plant. It's a dinosaur. It's dead. It's empty. Would it not make sense right now to see if these guys will take it down while they're there? And they've got the equipment there. It's just a sheet metal building.
But it's almost like putting the cart before the horse. We have a lot of things that need.
Yeah.
And
Oh, no, I'm just thinking that might save us money in the long run, because they're already here. That's all I'm getting. The trucks are already here, and they already have a place to dump it. I didn't know if it would maybe be beneficial to take it out now.
The only problem with that, there is some electrical that's in that building that needs to be relocated. That might take a little bit of time. but I don't know. It's something we could get a quote on and find out.
We, maybe when we get together, Mitch, as we look at the CIP a little bit more on that
Sure.
side of it, let's take a look at it then and see,
Okay.
come up with a game plan.
And there's, you can always use storage.
Yes.
Yeah, it was in Ron's thing, that's why I brought it up, in the CIP plan.
Yeah, one of the earlier ones, yes.
One last thing, the budget is there any way we can accelerate the report so that we know where we're at for the budget for this year?
We have several issues we'll
Yeah.
discuss that.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, okay, and we may not have any firm figures for you, but I think you want to include some monies in there just to start building up some reserves.
Yeah, for sure.
And it may be just something we grab from out of the air a little bit as far as what we put in there, but we need to put something there. A little bit about the bridge lighting and speed reduction. I kind of went down one path with DOT and didn't get too much of a response. I do have a new contact that I'm going to reach out to as far as the signage. I think that's going to be pretty easy since it's more of a maintenance type thing. The bridge lighting is going to get drawn out a little bit if that's something you still want to pursue. There's pros and cons. You like the bridge, then you invite the illegal fishing. Yeah, it's a pro and con. And there's nobody really to enforce that fishing rule either.
I saw the police out here.
Well, what's happening is South Florida Water, quite honestly, is telling people who want to fish that, because it's become pretty contentious here, that they do have 6 feet right away. That's what they're telling, and they do. So people can go on the water bank, which is county property and is managed by South Florida Water, and they can come 6 feet from the high water line legally. So, I don't know if that's gonna help. And that's what they're telling people, saying over here especially, it's a problem,
I think the easy part's gonna get the sign on the eastbound lane.
Yeah.
You got one on the westbound already.
Okay, Dave, you saw the drainage issues that Chris put in his report?
Yes, along Newport Drive.
Okay,
That whole area is gonna need to be reworked at some point here.
Well, it's dry now, so we should make that a priority.
Okay, good. I don't know if you wanna go ahead and start moving ahead with that a little bit, coming ahead with, at least some drawings, sketches. Basically, they're gonna need to regrade that swale from culvert to culvert, starting from the downstream side and just work up. So it's gonna have some cost to it, because there's quite a bit of swale out there. And it's just not isolated spots, it's gonna be almost the whole length of Newport.
Hello.
Yeah. We can tackle some of the low-hanging fruit first, the downstream stuff, and get it taken care of, but there is some stuff that's further upstream that will need to be addressed. So if that's something the board wants to pursue.
I think it'd be smart.
I agree with you about it's dry now, we need a cost factor.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, we can put together some things and,
If you get them to us right away, we can get a couple estimates.
yeah, I'm not sure we'll have something ready for your next meeting. I would say probably, the May meeting. That might give us a month to get some stuff done.
Then we're in the rainy season though.
Yeah.
We're starting the rainy season, yeah.
But it's not gonna be a 20-minute project anyway, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's good.
I think you're right, the low-hanging fruit wins. You
Yes.
gotta see what's,
You gotta start from the downstream.
yeah, we gotta see
Way
the
down.
CIP thing.
Yeah, well, and that's not a water sewer expense,
No.
that's a general fund expense. And
Yes.
you do have money in the general fund. Okay, well,
We'll go ahead and, we won't do anything too elaborate. We'll use some
Yeah.
aerials to show basically what we're intending on doing and a typical cross-section for the swale. And then we can get you some pricing going on that.
okay,
You do your aerials with a drone?
Well, we could. I wasn't even thinking of that. I was thinking of using the county property appraisers aerials to use as base map.
Oh, the ones that are already done?
Yeah, they're free.
Yeah.
They're free.
Yeah, that's good.
If we send a surveyor out here to do the drawing,
No, that's a good
probably a
idea.
couple days worth of work, and I don't think you want to undertake that at this point.
might be able to knock some of those out manually too, just some high points that could be taken out. It's not the ultimate solution, but at least it would stop ponding.
Yeah, they have it a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if the mosquitoes breeding that stuff or not.
They do.
Well, down there in Newport, especially at the south end, most of the culverts have at least 6 to 8 inches of dirt lines. So, and then in between it's filled up too. So
Yeah,
it's gonna be extensive swale
That's the
renovation.
areas in Chris's report they identified were
Yes.
primarily in front of those culverts.
Yes, those are where we,
Silt buildup.
and that's already during the summer, that's the place where we have had the fall-ins and so forth that we had to go out and look at. So, yeah, that's the worst of the areas.
Anything else for the engineer?
Wait. On the street signage, I missed the opportunity, I think, but when they're replacing the wooden stakes, are we replacing them with wood again, or are we doing metal?
Oh, that's in Chris's report. We haven't covered that yet. But he was going to replace it with wood just because of the cost. But we can do metal.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh,
All right.
Okay, you got a copy of your financial report, and you're doing pretty good. You got a lot of money, but all your money is you need to get through the rest of the fiscal year, and you do have the final payment that will be made in May. Other than that, all your bills are paid and things are good. Any questions on the financials? Just need a motion to accept.
I put a motion out to accept the financials as presented.
I second.
Okay. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now we got a copy of the budget. Michelle, you got that electronically last night, and the rest of the board has a hard copy of that. And, both of them sat and talked with Mitch, got some feedback from Chris. I think that we're pretty good on your projected expenses. We're conservative. So you might not spend as much as what we're projecting, but you'll see that I put a let's see, this is water sewer. I put 160,000 in the general fund,
341.
water sewer fund for the meter project, and then I put 100,000 because they're irrigation meters in the general fund for so that's 260, and then a little bit for next year if it carries over. We've got everything covered. I think the good news is that you're not putting the debt in there. The water sewer.
One.
If you look at the sewer water fund,
do it again.
Little for
341.
Michelle, you're live.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay, so if you look at the water sewer fund, and that's one of the big questions you had, taking care of all your expenses and putting 5,000 in for, now R&M at the water sewer plant. Mitch and I went through it, and we've got the big things that he knows, such as repair of some work on one of the lift stations. The backflow inspections, so we're going to get all those done this year. Next year, you won't have that expense, but we got 35,000 in for that. We've got some lift station work in there. I think, where was that? But we got enough to cover some lift station R&M. Yeah, lift station. We put $1,500 is, he felt that was plenty. And then we've got potable water lines, 30,000. So I think we looked at it from a conservative standpoint and made sure that we had enough for anything that Mitch anticipated. But you have 782,000. If you kept $500,000 or 300,000 out, you still could reduce your assessments by $500,000.
except.
Yeah, except, that's why I threw out 300,000.
I have a question, and I don't expect you to have this answer, but off the top of your head, what was the surprise category last year run for 2020? What was all the unforeseen R&M, like the air conditioners on the control room? Any unforeseen R&M? How much do you think it was all surprise?
40,000?
Yeah, I was gonna say
Within
50.
budget though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering how much it was.
Surprise, that's what you budget for.
Yeah, well, yeah, but the air conditioners, I didn't think were budgeted for that.
It
That was
wasn't
10 grand.
specifically, but we had enough in the budget to cover it.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm not saying anything bad. I'm
With
just,
all the surprises, you still should be able to turn over 165,000.
You're always gonna have to budget
right,
something for surprises,
Right.
because they're always gonna happen.
right, that's right.
So, you can't say because it's a surprise,
No, I just wanna know how much it was.
Contingency fund, that's a better word.
Yeah, that's all, I just wanna know how much it was.
Okay.
I know it's gonna happen.
So this is, I realize nobody's had an opportunity to go through it, but this is something, if you have questions, give me a call and we'll start working on it at the April meeting. And if you want, we could have workshops to go through it, however you want to do it. It's your budget, it's your financial plan, and we're just giving you the basis to work from. And our best guess estimate of what it would take to operate both of your funds for a normal year.
Okay.
Okay?
At least we're headed north, which is good.
Now, of course, we're not gonna even be able to consider in this budget any funds for the sale of the land.
Right.
And vice versa, are we gonna consider in this budget any of our costs involved in the sale of that land?
I think we almost have to, right? It's a
Yeah,
good question.
but the only expense that I think that you're confronted with would be the road improvements. And that would be part of your CIP.
But that's also negotiable.
That's also
Correct.
negotiable, correct.
And some of that may come up during their permitting with the county.
Right.
There may be some offsite improvements the county will make that may also in conjunction with it. Might even be some things out on 41.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
In your experience, I know what they said. I just can't fathom this taking 3 years to fruition. I can see it maybe 24 months on the outside, but they're gonna make money with it if they cut the check. That's how they're gonna operate, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
What I envision, the elephant in the room, which I would do the same thing, I think they're gonna make a pass at the county anytime now and say, well, we'll buy that 6 acres if you can rock it up our permit. That's the first thing I do. And I think the county will go for that.
They might,
I think it's a win-win for everybody,
The only hesitancy I would have dealing with Collier County is so slow.
Yeah.
I mean, it took us, there's nobody on the board from that time, but when we went through and tried to get the signage permit for that embellishment on the front side, that took almost 2 years. And a lot of money, because every time you meet with them, you gotta pay $500.
Yeah.
The Collier County is the most difficult county to work with.
It is.
But do you see it going, I really don't see it going 3 years.
I don't, and times are different now, and so I think they'll.
Well, right now, your construction, and even if you watch these houses
Right.
going up, the material isn't there. My daughter just got a quote to redo her pool deck with pavers. And in the contract says they can't hold the price because the way materials are going up. And when they get the price, then they contacted her, was she willing to pay the new price? And that's what they have to do right now.
Well, to your point, to her point, do you see us exposed at all expense-wise with just the Zeman project over 2022? That we would have to budget? Right? That's what you're asking.
It would
I don't think that was it.
potentially, probably not, well, it might be in 2022, the latter part, if they move ahead.
Yeah.
There might be some improvements that you do need to make. That's what was mentioned earlier about Union Road.
Yeah, but we don't think it's gonna be known to us during the budget process.
Right. That's what I'm asking.
Sewer and water is already there.
Right.
So that's not an expense. The only expense, and they've got to take their own on-site drainage.
Yes.
So the only expense I see is Union Road.
What about ERCs? Do we collect them all at once or as they
That's
bill?
part of the negotiating process.
Sometimes you do it all up front, sometimes you do it in phases, sometimes you do it each individual unit as it quote gets a CL.
Yeah,
Mhm.
there was, prorations, like on, taxes. But there's not gonna be any prorated in taxes because we don't pay taxes.
Right. That was, if you remember it because of your governmental experience, that when you have an expenditure, when we bought that property, we had to pay all of the outstanding taxes on it. But you've got to carry it on the budget for each of those fiscal years. Now, it'll come off this year. It's just, the last year, you had it for the final year when the property was purchased. And so it has to be left as that, even though it's a zero budget, it still has to be left on that. So it'll come off when we do the final budget. This is just a working document.
Can I ask your opinion? There's been a lot of neighbors asking on this side, and it's a very legitimate question. I know you don't know the answer, I just want your opinion. How much change do you see happening to this part of Union Road going up to the hotel, like sidewalks, repaving, widening, anything, lighting? How much change do you see happening there with the Zeman project?
I would-
Their project.
Well, I think.
Well, we know what it is.
As the county gets involved in their permitting, we're gonna probably see some things happen. They may start looking for some sidewalks and pathways out there along Union Road. And again, that would be, in my mind, a cost for Zeman. And then same thing with street lighting and so forth. They may want themselves to put in additional street lighting, because right now you've got it pretty well spaced out. It probably needs to get a little closer. So yeah, there are some things that they're probably going to get on the hook for on Union Road. They'll probably want to do some landscaping, additional landscaping, and that's something to be negotiated. That maybe they pay the front cost, but then you'll pick up the maintenance.
Right. Yeah, I can see them being required to upgrade the road or the base down.
Some of it's a little bit rough, and it's going to get real nasty during construction when they're bringing in all the trucks and so forth.
Yeah.
It's starting to happen now.
The county's pretty stringent on making sure they work on the behalf of the neighborhood as opposed to the developer.
On the ERCs, what is the fair way, the fair practice for us to charge them ERCs in theory? What is the fair way to charge them the new ERCs? Is it as the plots are, as they start selling them? I'm not selling them, renting them? Or is it as they're building them?
I think you guys will make that determination. They're going to request exactly what you're saying. But keep in mind that a lot of those properties became defunct because they were paying the full ERC charge on it.
Right.
And they had nothing to collect revenue on.
Right.
I mean, parcel 13,
That's the
when
key.
Bruce had it, he was paying $275,000 a year.
With nothing
With
coming in.
nothing coming in. And, Matawani was paying, 160, 170,000 and nothing coming in. If he rented 5 rooms a night, I'd be surprised.
And if he's doing it in phases, 5 phases may be a reasonable way of doing it. Because he'll be starting a phase, and in order to get approval to actually sell or whatever, he's going to need to go through a county completion.
Yeah, and we don't want to get in a position, because you put it on the tax roll. That's an annual basis. So every year we can evaluate, or over 5 years, that 20% a year is what they pick up. There's all types of ways to do this.
Well, the only input I have is that people that own property around here, they've been paying $2,000 a year, got nothing coming in here. So I mean, the individual people that are already out here,
That's a big chunk of change for them to be paying, and they're just sitting on property, so, good point, I mean,
That's why I was
put
asking.
the ERCs into the package sooner, he completes his work sooner.
Yeah, but you have to also remember,
I mean,
the purchase price is going to help us.
Yeah,
But that's business.
That's all part of the negotiation.
Yeah, that's business.
That's gonna be part of the
Right.
negotiations.
Purchase price gets them in the game.
If you hold ERCs in reserve for somebody, then they should be paid.
That's a good
Yes.
point.
Yes.
But
That's a good point.
if, and that's the argument I would use on the individual homes,
right.
is that, and the board hasn't ever considered this, but you might consider that if somebody does not want to develop that, and they want to give up that ERC, reserve sewer capacity, then they can give it up, and they would just pay for the one. But they run the risk that when they develop that, if they sell that lot, and somebody wants to put a house on it, there might not be enough, and that's why Sheepcart bought a bunch of them.
May not be the ERCs available, or they run up in price.
This is another one right there with Case Drive, just
I just saw that. Yeah.
or just purchased one next to them.
Yeah.
They're talking about
Oh,
whether
the
they
lot
purchased
next
a vacant lot, whether they can purchase, get rid of the ERC, or did they keep the ERC in case they
It's
want.
their choice, right?
Yeah, that's the $600,000 lot out front, they've been paying their ERCs.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So has a dormitory, right?
Yeah, dormitory.
Dormitory's been paying them
Now, he
too.
doesn't have, a bunch of them. I think that, Sheepcart, the hotel has 33 in extras that they've been paying every year. And then, the two lots out front, 3 or 4 acres, 5 acres maybe, Scott Sherpan bought that, and I don't believe he's paid his assessments yet. So, but, everyone, we're about 80% collected. I don't think there's gonna be a problem.
So in that 266 total, that doesn't include what Schuchart holds in reserve. The 266
Right.
total ERCs.
Yeah.
That's a CIP.
That's unassigned and it's available.
And then that's what, and Schuchart's got another 30.
He's got,
That he can
well,
sell.
he doesn't have, Suncoast or that developed the hotel, South.
Oh,
Hotel
Sunstreet.
has Sunstreet.
But they're
They
actually,
have 33,
Uh,
because,
Yeah, they're
they
already
bought it
assigned.
from,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yes,
already
they
assigned,
are assigned.
but it's on vacant
To what?
property.
assigned to who has the property.
Yeah. which is-
oh, you're saying to the motel rooms?
No, it's on unassigned property. They have
Oh, it's
their hotel
unassigned.
rooms already. That's assessed individually.
Okay, well, I know somebody put in an offer on the dormitory.
Okay, it might be the, Zeman or,
No.
no?
But, what about, the ERCs for that? Do they-
There are some there.
That's all zoned residential
Tourists.
tourist,
RT.
right? RT.
When the old board discussed ad nauseum, the ERC sales to the dormitory, and you figured out the percentage of it, did he ever buy any of those, or did he just inherit the ones he got?
He inherited the ones he got.
Well, that made sense. Why would he buy more? I never understood.
Yeah, he didn't buy more. It's, Matawani broke it off. I think it was a buddy of his.
Yeah.
Who then it ended up selling it to somebody else, but he had it and they negotiated what ERCs he was gonna give the
Hence
property.
the separate auctions on the same day.
Right. And what was proposed, there's not enough ERCs for what was proposed by the last time. They were gonna have to buy ERCs.
They're going to do a higher use.
The motel rooms are what percentage of an ERC? 0.6?
0.6.
Yeah, that's why, because we wanted to put in 400 square foot efficiency, hotel room size, employee housing over there.
Right.
And you wouldn't have had enough for them. Because you wanted to put in three buildings, ultimately.
But if somebody wants to change the use there,
then,
Then they have to go to zoning, right?
yes, they'd have to go to zoning, and then Dave would, look at the use and determine how many ERCs is needed.
Okay. Right.
Depending on what they want to do.
You know,
You guys-
they're leaning towards like, the use of the building, but then having, like storage, you know what I mean, so.
Yeah.
See that? Since they painted it, that baby's hot. People want to buy that thing.
But yeah, you know, I didn't know if they would need, I didn't know what the situation was with the ERCs, why they would need so many, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there'd have to be an adjustment based on.
Nobody's living there, you know what I mean? So,
Originally, that's what this guy wanted to do with it, wanted to put in employee housing.
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll have bathrooms and sinks and, you know, so
Right.
those things are part of the calculation that Dave works at.
Right, yeah, if it goes pure storage, it's gonna have all this.
Unless you own the property, you have absolutely no input on what goes in there.
Right.
That's county and they control it through zoning. You have a choice if you can provide them sewer or water and if they have, you know, enough ERCs to support that development.
Right.
Can we, I'm serious, can we send the owner of that property a thank you for painting it? Because, you know,
He had no choice.
I know, but still,
It's fine.
you know, it was a nice gesture. He had no choice, but still, you know, maybe we just send him a little thank you for doing it, you know?
Maybe you send a thank you to Maureen Dillon too. She bugged them like you can't believe. She'd call them and send emails weekly. And, you know, last time I talked to code enforcement, they said, will this get Maureen Dillon off our back? So, I'm sure we could send them a letter. Would the board like that? I mean,
I don't
I'm
think it
not,
warrants it.
yeah, I'm
But
not
as
sure if the
far as
owner makes the
fine.
decision. Yeah, they were faced with a fine.
Oh, yeah, they were getting fined right along.
Yeah.
By the county. Whatever, I just thought, you know,
Okay.
soften it up a little bit.
I know the guy, I'll say that.
Yeah, okay.
It is a corporation.
It's, I don't know, it's
Not,
private?
well, yes and no, I think it's
It's an
private.
LLC.
Yeah.
So a letter to an LLC is like,
Nothing.
Yeah,
nothing. That's the point.
I know, I'll give it.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not sending a letter?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
she'll take it.
Okay. So next budget, is there any direction you want to give us now as far as projecting 300,000 and show you what the impact on the assessment would be, the reduction in the assessment rate, or do you have a goal?
I think until, and I hate to say this, but until we have our ducks in a row here, I think it would be hard to commit to lowering any ERCs.
Yeah.
I hate to do it, but I
Yeah.
think it's.
We have to
best.
see where we're at. Now, let me ask you timing wise. Ron said we wouldn't have that report till May. What's the deadline for the budget?
That's pretty
All right,
much the
but-
deadline.
Where I'm coming from is, we're gonna sell the land, and we're gonna be rid of the debt. I think we can set aside and have contingencies, because you're not gonna do all your capital improvements in 1 year.
No.
So you're gonna have a plan, and I think we should plan it
Yeah.
with what we have as the old rate if possible.
Yeah, I agree. You can't really plan it until we see
Yeah.
what we're looking at.
And I hate to plan it with this higher ERC.
I agree.
I just-
I think we need to know where we're at, so it's on you.
Kind of say status quo this first year.
Right.
then
I think so.
as we get our
I agree.
CIP, then we can look at
Yeah.
being more realistic as far as what we're putting in.
Yeah. What I found
I'm
out
not sure you
too
want to
is-
say, I think you want to reduce it this year.
No, I don't think.
I don't think we have
No.
enough guarantees.
Not with 5 million bucks
I mean,
outstanding.
if you're keeping $700,000.
So what? That's
Okay.
nice.
All right, all right.
It'd be great if you could, but, you know, I'm like, by Kale, when I was thinking about that a little bit on the way here this morning, and I was thinking, if we could set aside 200,000 to 300,000 a year right off the bat, not knowing where we're going to be, that is a start. At least you're not giving back everything right away.
But I think, let's forget about the 2 million until we see it in the bank account.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not happening. So now let's look at 5 to 7 million facing us with work that needs to be done, that hasn't been done or is needed to be done.
And that's going to be over time.
Right. But how much time?
We'll have to see the list.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. So I don't think we should move. I'm agreeing with you. I don't think we should move on anything until we see that list.
Right.
Well, what Cal was saying is to play with the numbers. Let's say what I was looking at, like, let's say we increased the ERCs to cover 500,000. But why we increased it, we're getting that 500,000, we still have the deadbeat 50 some odd acres. So that was almost 200,000, let's say, so that we never really got the 500. We needed that 200 to keep us running. So we only had the 300 to put towards debt. And that's why we were almost like spending more.
Right.
Because of that.
So now we're in a cash position for a change, which is nice.
Right, but seeing is believing. I just think if we make that commitment to refund some, we're committed.
I'm with you.
We don't want to
I
stay
agree.
in this position.
No, I say we wait.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, I think you have to explain it to the community why you wait.
Well, it's easy.
Otherwise, no, I know, but if they see that if the sale does go through and we're getting the 2 million and then we're getting $1 million in ERCs from them, they're gonna expect a reduction.
They're gonna get it.
Which we're saying.
But that's next
I don't
year.
think we can do it this budget year.
Right, they're gonna get it.
What
That's what I'm
about-
saying, you're saying they're gonna get it, but that won't be in 2021, it'll be in 2022.
Right.
I mean, not 2022,
23.
maybe 2023.
Yeah, what about a smaller reduction, maybe
Well, let me play
cut
with the numbers.
200,000 out?
Yeah,
Yeah,
let me
that's
play
what
with the
I,
numbers.
just for
Put something there.
Maybe you could do it over 2 years. I think you could do
Right,
more than
right.
200,000.
Why don't you figure it into the budget that way? But
Right.
Well, I'll look at it.
what's that gonna give an ERC back? Is that gonna be $200? Is that gonna be?
Oh, it's gonna be. The only thing I don't wanna do, it's not gonna be a lot,
No, I know.
but the only thing I don't wanna do is give us all $100 a year off, or $200 a year off, and then 2 years from now say, uh-oh, the water line broke, it's $2 million, we need to give you some more money.
You can't do that to the residents.
No, that's what I'm saying.
You did it once already.
That's right.
And
It
we
was
have
not
to show
good.
good faith and start giving it back.
Yep.
Condos, the research I've done, our assessment is greater than their real estate tax. That's
Mine is,
Yeah, that's not fair.
yeah, no, you're
You know,
right.
and basically it was because of the increase we did. Did we meet the requirements for increasing? If we have, we need to start giving it back.
Right. But I think we need to wait.
There's things that could go wrong between now and the time.
Right.
Siemens is ready to go.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
And you don't want to say, oops, well, we
Yeah.
didn't realize that this was not going to happen.
Sorry, we gave you the money, we want it
Until the
back.
deal's done, you really can't compensate. That's right.
Right.
No, that's what I'm getting at.
But all I'm saying is, yes, we need the capital improvements, but if we got 500,000 a year from the residents, and we don't have any ERCs yet from this property,
Right.
so let's say we're down to 300,000 now.
Right.
If you reserved 100,000 towards capital improvements, at least you have the 200 to start giving back. Mine, when I rented the houses, go about 500 a year.
It's for a long term.
Yeah.
Except, what's the CIP gonna be? $5 million isn't gonna,
But over what,
But that's
a year?
gonna be-
that's $1 million a year.
That may be over 10 years
One
too, though.
year, it isn't.
If it's $1 million a year. If it's $1 million a year, one shift.
No,
I think you
I
do a
don't-
lot with 500,000.
Yeah, I don't see us approaching $1 million
That's right.
a year on CIP, because I think it's gonna get stretched out a little bit more.
I don't think you could take this money that the residents gave for a reason and continue using it.
I
think
don't
that's
either.
fair. I don't think that's fair. So
I don't either, but the
we'll
problem
work
is,
out the capital improvements.
how?
It's just in the budget process, you're not gonna put out $1 million a year, you're just not gonna do it. Time-wise, how do you get all that done?
We're gonna wait to see what they
Yeah.
come up with.
Right. You gotta wait
What's
to
their
see it.
timing, they're gonna have things, well, this doesn't need to be done for 5 years.
Yeah, then we worry about it then.
Yeah, but meanwhile, Cal and I will work on this budget to see, can we realistically give back some of the money that showed in faith? That's what we're looking at.
Absolutely.
That's fine, absolutely.
Many of us would wanna pay more than.
No, we should be giving back 500 a year, I get it. But I don't wanna ask for it again next year.
Oops, it's always easier to get back than take away.
Right, that's all I'm getting at. We're getting it too, I get it.
Yeah, but to me, you're keeping what wasn't yours.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, field report. You've got a copy of Chris's field report. Michelle had raised the question on replacing the wooden stakes for the no parking. Chris was gonna replace those with wooden stakes, but if you would prefer, we can put the metal in. Just get a channel locks or channel pipe or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, unistrut type material.
Yeah.
I call it unistrut.
Okay, is everyone in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh, I have one question.
Yeah,
The fire hydrant behind the old hotel is all covered over in black plastic.
Probably so they wouldn't smash it.
yeah,
Well, no, I think that the valve's been shut off there, it's a potable water main.
Right.
That valve, that hydrant's fed off of, and I think during construction, definitely the valve, I think Rich closed the valve, closed that off.
Yeah,
So
so no
when you
one
do
touches
that,
it.
now you need to bag it, so nobody
Okay.
falsely thinks it's in service.
Like potable water?
okay.
Yeah, there's a couple hydrants on potable water over there.
All the little things that you see when Chris brings this guy out, he'll take care of those. He's inexpensive maintenance guy.
Remember when they used to have the problem with those? The fire department used to go and do a test and would drop the pressure in the plant like crazy.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't tell them about it.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, they gotta come off of potable water, that's
yeah,
right.
they do.
I forgot about that.
And Dave, you're gonna give the developer on K's Drive, building or Sunset K, as far as the broken sidewalk.
Yes, we'll keep back from on
It's
that.
still-
It's
it's
still
still-
under construction,
Still
so.
under construction.
It's still coming back and forth across the day.
Yeah, and there's
But
like,
yet, the other one they're starting, right by Cage Drive, they sweep that sidewalk every day, and they haven't destroyed it. But those two houses.
yeah, whoever did the earthwork got in there pretty crazy.
Staying on top of the, none of the lots have Brazilian pepper on it. We had Sunset K, there's a small amount there, and we're letting them know. Other than that, the embellishment, that sunburst, they couldn't
side.
save the connections, and so they said it'd be another $300 to replace the connections. And so I told them, go ahead and do that.
When are they gonna put it up?
As soon as they finish it. It should be next week or the week after. Let's see. The landscape, we talked about the lighting with Robert when he was here. No complaints were received. Mitch is taking care of the fire hydrant on Venus K. Needs to be painted purple. It's white now.
Faded real bad or something, yeah.
It's just faded. It's faded real bad, but that needs to be painted purple. Other than that, there's a list of recommended projects, maintenance tasks, and you guys said Chris could have a couple days a month, and he gets this guy out here and he does it. It's all of those are things that he's got on he's issuing work orders for. Any questions? Anything that needs to be brought up on that?
Are we gonna discuss the grading of Union Road?
Yes, that's a follow-up item.
What have they been doing, I probably should have asked Tim, what have they been doing across the retention pond here? Robert had trucks over there, is that the Brazilian peppers? all along on the other side of the
Yes.
10? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we talked about that. Any questions, anything you want me to bring to Chris's attention? Okay, that takes us to, Michelle, did you have anything?
No, I didn't. And I'm good.
All right, front back action, he hasn't gotten with me, so I have no idea. Dan, I did talk to Dan, he hasn't heard anything. He asked if he was supposed to be on this call, and I told him, you know, if we need him, we'll call him.
I actually did have a call from Scott. He would like to get together with me later today. He's going to be up near my office and just drop something by to look at real quick, and then I'll share it with Cal.
Okay, and I'll share it with the board.
Cal, I think the problem, Scott seems to be a very easygoing guy. But I think the problem, he's a very technical guy. I think the problem he's having and the impasse is he's trying to make sense of how Ron figured the calculations to begin with, and now you're inheriting that mess. And the horse is already out of that barn. And I'm not saying he's stupid, I just think he's a technical mind. It's not making sense to him, the calculations, but the calculations have been done. Now, I keep remembering Jeannie Kungle sitting right there and saying to the board, why the hell don't you just do it like every other marina does it and charge per slip? And she was right. I think he's looking too much at how you came about with the calculations. And it's because it's too finite, I think, and it's going to keep dragging on. I think it's as simple as saying, this is how we're doing the RVs, and this is how, whatever it is, how we're doing the docks, okay? 40-foot RV, 40-foot dock, okay? Boats are like floating RVs. But I think it needs to get simplified somehow. And then let's just figure it out, because this will just keep going on forever, because he's not feeling like he got, after 3 hours, that he got an answer from Ron that was acceptable. He's not going to get one from you either, because it's not going to be the answer that he wants to hear. But I do think, though, that we need to, substantiate or explain calmly, but less technically. That's what I think, because he's really not unreasonable. I think he's just too technical.
Yeah, the amount of the ERC is what's available to be used.
Right.
Now, if you're not using it, it's not the utility's fault or
No.
CID's fault. It's your fault for not being able to fully use it.
But I want to be understands, everybody will know.
Yeah, but
Pretty
that's, all
much.
right, Catherine gave me all the information, just so you keep looking at numbers, but she finally made sense to me. Okay, say you got a 50-foot boat, and you're living on it, or you're leasing it, or you're renting it, or whatever. Okay, the reason they're complaining is it went up 500%, okay, in the general fund. They were paying $31 a year on a 50-foot boat.
They weren't paying enough to begin with.
Right, and it went to $158 a year. Okay, that's on the general fund, so it went up 5 times.
Right.
And
And
$31, come on.
it was the $31 when he bought the property.
Yeah, right. And now the rest of it, the ERC for the water, went from 136 a year, not a month, a year, to 681. So they're at 800, okay, on a 50-foot boat, 800 a year. Whereas an empty piece of property is $2,000. Now, as far as contributing to the community, they're living there, they're making money off of it, whatever they're doing. They're not paying property tax, they're just paying us.
I mean, you do
So-
pay property tax.
What property
On a boat?
tax?
Yes, because you own the land underneath it, so you're paying
So
property.
the bay bottom.
Oh, the
Okay.
slip, if you own the slip.
All right,
Yeah.
well then, all right, fine.
Well, what if it's the rental?
He
It's
pays
him.
the property tax.
Still the
Okay.
person,
Yeah.
but still, this boat, whatever it is, whether they're
Yeah.
living on it or whatever,
Floating
that's
RV.
their expense for it did go up percentage-wise, it went up a lot, but it was never right to begin with.
That's what they don't understand.
Right,
That they were,
It was undervalued.
right.
Right, he was undervalued, and now, in order to be part of the community, I don't see those numbers being out of line. So that's,
I think he has to compare it to what like the condos are paying and all the other people are paying and how much everybody was.
Well, in perspective, in elementary terms, how much is an RV gonna be paying? A 40-foot RV?
It should
same
be the
thing.
same.
Same exact thing.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
the same.
I think you're right. I think the problem is, and I get it, people got crushed. Maybe if it had been given to them incrementally over time instead of a big slam, maybe that's the issue. There's
You
an
know what it would
impact.
cost to do it incrementally, like for the amount of money that you're getting, your costs would be greater than your revenue.
Yeah.
And it's,
So basically, went up for the big boat, it went up $500 a year, $500 a year.
The other problem
they
is,
don't have that
It's
many big
it's one.
slips anyway.
Oh,
There's quite a few.
oh yeah, that's a lot.
But that's the top, that's the top end that I was getting.
The other thing is, there was a whole different demographic back there. I don't know about, but there were a whole different demographic there. There are much, I guess, nicer boats now, much different clientele now, which benefits the community. But it's also more expensive. I get it. Yeah. But you're right. Floating RVs. That's how we have to look at it.
But he's using the argument, he doesn't have all the slips rented all year. Well, that's his business.
That's this problem.
You know,
That's the
we can't
underutilization.
guarantee your business. It's like the gun club, we can't guarantee you.
He said he had a
Waiting list.
waiting list.
100 boats.
Yeah, so if you've got a waiting list, it shouldn't be a problem using it.
Shouldn't
be a problem whatsoever.
It's been dragging so.
Yeah, that's what
long,
I'm saying.
And nothing, like, last I heard that he was gonna come talk to the board, and still nothing.
I think what I'm saying to you is, before you get to, I think I would get out of that. He's never gonna get, and I'm not saying anything bad about it, he's never gonna get the answer he wants from you. He's just not. And he's never gotten it from Ron, because it's a technical answer that he doesn't want to accept. I get it, but it's gonna just keep spinning.
But we owe it to him.
Oh yeah, we owe it to him, but I think the board should explain it.
Can I just say something? A dock and C dock. Now, A is tore up, it has had a couple liveaboards on it, but I'll address just C dock, where most of the bigger boats and the liveaboards are. B dock, all fishing boats, other than what's at the end. C dock, where all the liveaboards are and the bigger boats are, right now, for the water sewer portion, are paying the same as B dock. The only thing that changed on C dock is the general fund, and all 175 docks were raised from the 34 to the 158, all 175. C dock and A dock are both paying the same as B dock, which is 0.08 on the water sewer fund. So the only thing that has changed is the general fund going from 0.08 to 0.4. So technically, even with all those liveaboards there on C dock, they're still paying the same on water sewer that the fishing boats are. Now, when all the changes come through, I'm sure they're going to be having to go to the CID for more ERCs if they're putting in sewer and this, that, and the other thing, and changing the size of the slips. So for right now, my feeling is Prep Mac is really getting away cheap, especially on C-Dock. That's all I have to say.
Can I ask you a question? Compared to, I'm really trying to keep it simple. Compared to an RV on a brand new pad that comes in with this new outfit, is is the water feed line gonna be the same?
Yes.
Is everything gonna be
Yes.
exactly the same?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's immaterial.
Yeah.
And the average big boat has 1 or 2 heads in it, right? The boats all get pumped out, is that right?
That's correct.
Unless they have sewer.
And these are gonna have
None of
sewer.
them have sewer.
Some boats have sewer.
Now, is
some
there a
have
cost
sewer.
to the pump out, or is that a federal thing? That's FEMA, right?
Some boats have sewer,
Yeah,
and the ones who don't do not get charged.
None of the boats have sewer.
Yeah.
They're all pumped out.
They're all pumped out.
Every
you
one of
can
them.
have- Yeah.
Yes.
so is there a cost,
Even on
It-
EGO, F and G, they're all pumped out.
so is the pump out a federally funded thing, or does it cost the voters?
The pump out is federally funded.
It's what?
It is Clean Water Act funded.
Right,
So is
so,
there a charge to, is there a?
No charge to the voters.
right, so it's clean
But it's
water.
not, my understanding is an RV is a direct connect into water
Yes.
system.
Right, that's
And it's a
correct.
direct connect into the sewer.
That's correct.
And when the voters came, what they tried to explain to you, yeah, they're using water, but they're using a 50-gallon water tank. So they're turning the water on, getting wet, they're turning it off. They're soaking up and then they're turning it on. When you're in an RV, you're gonna run the water just like you are in a condo. It's gonna be more similar to a condo than it is.
But
to a-
That's
RVs,
not true.
And-
RVs have holding tanks too, same
Yeah.
thing.
Well, they do, but they're also direct contact. They're gonna be directly into the water line, so they could run the water.
But the boats could do the same thing.
Absolutely.
They got a hose
So,
there.
Yeah.
An RV has usually a 50 or 100-gallon water tank.
Yeah.
Yes,
But their
you
tank,
can,
they're
yes, you can run it direct.
Yeah.
But you can also run it, a lot of them run it still
From
through their
what they were
tank,
telling me,
simply because it is more pressure.
That's not the way a voter's life is. They fill that tank and they make that tank last as long as they can. No water waste at all because they turn it off. They never have running water constantly going.
But we still process the sewage.
Right, well, and that's the other thing. And when they pump them,
Yeah.
they dump it somewhere and then we inherit it. And there's a cost
That's
to
our
that,
expense.
right?
Right.
Right. So it's almost identical.
Mhm.
That's, to keep it simple, it's a floating RV. That's how we have to look at it.
But it's still, I keep going back to it, it's still a community, they all have to participate.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, like I said, the people that own a piece of property, they don't use any sewage, they don't use any water, they don't use anything, they've had it for years, and they pay $2,000
Catherine,
a
you're right.
year.
You're right, he is direct.
So-
Yeah, he is direct.
Well, I think you're right.
So the
I think we just-
the prices aren't wrong.
I think we just have to keep it simplified,
Yeah,
that's all.
simple.
But I wouldn't get into it with them because.
No, I'm not, yeah, I'm just,
Spin your
I'm gonna
wheels.
receive it today and then pass it on to Cal.
He's a real nice guy, but he's got a mental block. I think we
He's
should.
looking at it from a business sense.
Yes.
And what he's able to recoup
Yeah,
we're not
versus what is available to him through the utility.
And I like the guy, but if I were him and I had 100 guys waiting to get in my place, A, it would never be empty, B, my rates would go up.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure it has.
100 boat surplus, come to daddy,
Yes, that's the rate.
I will let us know.
I think the waiting list is for storage.
There's no, well, he said he had a waiting list for slips.
Yeah, he said it splits.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
Once they're reconfigured, he has a wait list for slips. Once they-
Yeah,
Okay, well,
and storage.
I'm not worried about any slips,
No.
because you go to the boating stores, everything's sold.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be plenty more boats coming around here. That's never.
If they could get them in up the canal.
Yeah.
So,
As long as it's high tide.
Not even
I
that
get it in.
sometimes.
So in the meantime, this will keep going. So what's the best solution? To invite him in to us at the next meeting and just explain it? And let's make a decision on,
We did that last week.
Well,
yeah, but I mean, we gotta get rid of this action one way or another.
I think he was looking to come forward with
He
a
was.
proposal
Yeah.
and run it through
Yes.
myself and Cal.
Yeah.
That was exactly.
And then he probably was looking to come to a board meeting.
Yeah, so I think, but let's just make it go away. Well, it's hanging.
I'm not sure what you guys can do to make it go away.
Well, I think we have to ask
We're
him.
not gonna- We're not gonna revisit. It's
No.
something we spent a
Until
lot
he
of time
submits
on.
something, there's
Yeah.
nothing to do.
Yeah.
So if you want, I will take it off the agenda until we get a written proposal.
Yeah.
I think so, I mean,
Get it on.
He's asking us to jump through the hoop, but where's the hoop?
and I would get him away from engineering, just, he's a nice guy, but that's not gonna be the answer he's
No,
looking
he's
for.
entitled to speak.
Yeah, but he already has.
Well, yes and no, you pay his salary, and I mean, if he wants to pay the time, I mean, otherwise you're paying for it. Somebody's gonna pay him, he's not gonna, for nothing.
You give him 5 minutes?
I might give it 5 minutes, but it usually doesn't happen 5 minutes. I've had a couple of talks and it's long.
I'm just amazed, all this was going on, and Catherine's a slip owner, she was on the board, and, you know,
Well, and he.
the way he says he
was
didn't
here.
know anything about it.
He admitted when, Russ asked him, said, you didn't know anything about it, you were at the meeting.
Well, big words like 500% increase sounds like,
Horrible.
yeah, until you realize it's $31.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, those words are, you know,
It's like water meters are running low right now. Not even.
And that's the next thing, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the next one.
When the board tackled this, it was an intent to make it fair for
It
everyone.
was. Spent a
And,
lot of time on it.
so when you reduce the assessment, they, based on a fair assessment, they will receive the same benefit everybody else receives in the reduction.
And now with this thing coming in, there's parity, there's exact parity. So, you know, there it is.
Yeah, that's a good point, it is.
Yeah.
In the future, we're looking at reducing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hello. Hello. It's too close. Here.
No, we've got a new program now. Plus you got your shot.
Yeah.
that's right. But I did too.
Good for you. Good. Go on. Oh, man.
I don't know where we were.
okay, ready to
We're
move
the
on?
front map, ready to move on.
Parcel 13, like I said, we do have a written proposal, I'll send it out there, I just got it yesterday. But like I told them, we already have one that's been accepted, and unless this one falls apart, there's nothing to negotiate. They, being Zeman, said that they would submit something next week, so they had a few questions. Towing discussions, Dan's not done anything with that. I think it's probably best if it was through one of the local HOAs, that they could handle it. Now, they are your streets, but you can enter into an agreement. They have to sign it, and then somebody calls, the tow company to tow them. But you know, it really is an HOA issue. Even though they need your approval to be able to, you know, put a restriction on, because you own the streets. Okay? The regrading proposals for Union Road, you have two of them. These are based off the quantities that David provided. And one's almost half the price of the other one. They're both reputable firms.
Wow.
Nice.
50%.
Yeah, the question I was going to ask was on the,
The fine print.
well, yeah, pretty much. On the regrade, the second proposal, there is no additional cubic yards of material.
They did have something in there, they call it item 0.3. They got to haul an additional lime rock per load.
Yes, per load. What I'm saying is, are we comparing apples and apples? In other words, both of them are using, the first one is roadway with 60 cubic yards of lime rock. Is that the same thing as the regrade 2,400 of the existing roadway?
Yeah, look at the quantity section. There is a little difference there. Vanessa indicates 5,989 square yards.
Yeah.
Southern indicates 5,600, so it's a little bit of discrepancy there. I can't remember what we had included in the proposal originally. I think we had a square yards given to them. One of the bigger differences, Vanessa's pretty big. and they probably have a higher cost. Southern's a little bit smaller, and that may be the big difference.
Where's Southern located?
They're in Cuyahoga County also.
Closer to us?
Yes, and Vanessa is too. They're both, Vanessa runs on Naples office too.
I mean, I think Southern's on the money because Corey and Lou told me on the road that they've got now, which, you know, is, they spent around 18 grand of their own money. And so I think this is really in line because the holes back there are brutal.
But isn't the gun club using the left road again?
Yeah, but they can't, you know, pretty soon that's gonna end because that's it's an easement that isn't legal.
Right, but,
And that's gonna run through that other parcel.
Right.
right, but when this land deal happens, we don't know if they're gonna keep that road there or request moving it.
But they're not, what you're saying, use it as a throughway though, thoroughfare?
No, Union Road is our road,
Right.
right? But when this developer comes in, we don't know what his plans are. He might want to move Union Road at his cost.
Yeah, could be.
Yes. And again, there's gonna be some county requirements also probably for Union Road at that point too, that he'll inherit.
Right.
And plus there's been some other discussion about what the district would be
I
responsible
don't know
for.
where you want to move it, because
Yeah.
you're not going to move it closer to the water, you're going to move it away, so.
It all depends on how he's going to set up the corner.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But the Union Road right now runs right next to the plant and everything else. I don't think he's going to move that.
No,
Yeah, he's probably gonna wanna have Union Road and then a lot of separate.
because it runs to the perimeter. Yeah. That's a reasonable price.
I think, yeah, the southern price is more realistic.
And we're looking at the possibility in negotiations, et cetera, that we're going to have to pave it anyway.
Sure.
So let's
I think you can bet on that.
let's not spend the bundle on something that we're going to redo.
Yeah, this is gonna, that's what I was gonna ask, is this base gonna be sufficient for the road, or is it gonna be basic?
There's gonna need to be some more work done when they get ready to do the pavement. It's gonna have at least a year to 2 years worth of use before they come in and do anything. You won't have to worry about subgrade, but you may need to sweep up the base. You may want to raise the road a little bit higher. Again, that road's gonna have to meet some flood requirements also.
But it definitely needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's pretty rough.
And the problem is the road he's using, we want to get him out of that habit because I can't believe he spent that much money on it. You know, it's not theirs to use, really. At any time, it could get shut down. It's not a legal easement.
You know, I go back there, I've been pretty busy.
How come the square yards are different?
That's
Like
what I'm not
300,
sure of.
300.
Yeah, that's what I'm not sure of, why that's a little bit higher. Maybe they included some extra work in there. But again, let's see. His unit price is $3.21 versus $6.50.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, that's a big difference. Yeah. You know, the mobilization, actually Southern's a little bit higher on getting the equipment here. And then there's just pennies as far as the initial line processing. So the big difference is what he's got included as far as his grading. Again, they're a smaller outfit.
I think that's an extremely fair price, especially for the length of it, how deep the holes are, and how much grading needs to be done.
It's good to know they paid $18,000 for the other road, getting it brought up.
He did.
Yeah, so that's good to know that gives you a good point of comparison.
Now, the other thing is, I drove back there the other day. I never noticed this sign. And I thought those berms were all, you know, to keep the gun club noise and everything, and the bullets over that way. But I saw signs that said wastewater settling ponds.
Yeah, there's a pond back there, and that if need be, we can use that too.
Yeah.
That's what soda has to cut off.
Yeah. So that road goes right past that too.
Yeah.
I make a motion to do it.
I second it. First, go with Southern.
Yeah, with Southern. When can they do it?
Yeah.
As soon as the beginning of tomorrow.
Well, we'll work.
Before my next ride around the soda, that'd be great.
You need a Dramamine the last time, right?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. then there was discussion on the, county takeover of utilities.
By the board, it's not gonna happen.
I'm not sure.
They don't want anything to do with us. It's too
Yeah.
expensive.
Well, and
County.
you're gonna lose control over it if you.
Once you give away something, you
Yeah,
never
yeah,
get
it's
back.
okay. It's ours to live with. They don't want
Okay, so take this off.
it. Yeah, take it off.
What's going on with Everglades City?
I think they're still getting,
Because they don't have the money.
they still have problems with, DEP.
Yeah.
What's really going on is the feds are on them, EPA's on them, they have a new mayor, the other mayor's dead. But the problem is they asked Collier County to manage it for the next couple of years. The feds asked them to do it. Nothing has changed. It's a horror show. And the problem is, 4 years ago, the feds said 55 million because it's right in the middle of the Everglades and they were dumping raw sewage right into the water. Well, nothing has changed, and they're never going to be able to pay for it. It's impossible, and they haven't been able to get federal money, and it's impossible. There's no way.
It should come out of the Everglades restoration.
Sure it should. There's no way, and so they're hauling their untreated wastewater to Hendry County, is it? Every night, trucks.
It's not untreated, it's just waste, whole process water.
Right.
Yeah.
But it has to be, it would have had to have been reprocessed
Right.
again. That's
Yeah.
why we fought it here. So nothing's happening there, and it's a very volatile situation.
Okay, so that's coming off the agenda. The
Yeah.
next item, meeting date and time, that's already
We already did that.
decided. Gets us a supervisor.
I have something.
Okay,
I think you were approached also. I was approached about, with COVID going on, was there some communities, like Everglades City, was able to get the COVID vaccination for their residents.
Clinic.
Yeah, so, I was approached about, could we do that for this community? And I did some research with the woman who called me, and yes, it can be done, but basically we're out of time. People are leaving now, so even if they've signed up for it with us, they might not be here to get it. It's a little like late in the game. But in the future, I'd like to know how the board feels with something like this going on. Is it something, because what happens, you can contact your condos, but as far as homeowners, they all have to be contacted. And it's usually a mailing would be the best way to do it. And all that information isn't really.
I got contacted also, in fact, Bob Johnson right here contacted me. And I went to Ron LaCastro with it because I thought that would be a no-brainer. Rick LaCastro, he got back to me and he goes, believe it or not, we have nothing to do with it. It's only the Collier County Board of Health. They are it, they make all the decisions. And he said, then they won't do it. And I said, but we have the population here, they're putting these things up everywhere now, little tents and the whole thing. But it's the Collier County Board of Health that needs to be contacted.
Well, I was able to get help from the fire department.
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah,
distributed it.
that would be a good spot.
And they gave me a list of what they need, which basically, it has to be proof of residence, license, or homeowner, and name and address. It was like an easy list, but they had to have a certain amount of people. I think the first list he wanted would be 60 people, which was reasonable. And it might be where we piggyback on Everglades City or we piggyback on one of these communities on the East Trail. But at least we have access to it. Like I myself have failed completely on getting the shot. I still don't have it. And it's hard to do. And it would have been a lot easier.
Sure.
My neighbor went. They all
And
brought
60 would be a
Everglades City.
no-brainer, I would think, easy.
Well, if we only have 60, I mean, if you only require 60 people, we have 60 year-round residents at least.
Oh, yeah.
But first we have
Most
to notify you. How do I reach you? Then what if you've already had the shot, you're not part of my 60? And it is,
But I'm in the same boat you are.
Yeah.
I'm
very frustrated.
I can't get it.
So right now I've requested, if there is a community bias, can we hop on board with it?
I'll see what,
Marco will, there's a couple places, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interject, but I did check it out yesterday. Marco Island, there's only a couple of, like, Marco Island, city of Marco Island, you have to be a Marco Island resident.
Residents, yeah.
Otherwise, you can go on their website and, Winn-Dixie. You don't have to, all you do is just go on there and make an appointment if they have them available. Which
But I
we
know
don't
someone
right
from
now.
Marco Island paid a woman $50 to get her a reservation to get a shot in Naples. It's crazy, yeah.
Terry, I talked to Sydney too, and she told me about CVS. I got on there last night about 12:20 p.m. I had absolutely no problem, going through all the questions, getting scheduled. I have a first shot on Tuesday. They had multiple appointment times. It's up there on Shadowwood, across from Odd Lots up there by Bay Shore, across that way. And they scheduled the second appointment sometime in April.
Yeah.
So,
In another,
Do it late at
in
night.
another couple of weeks or less, you're not, you'll get it anywhere you want it.
They're gonna be throwing it
anytime
at
you
you.
want it.
No, they're gonna let those people in under 65.
I'm telling you, yeah, it's,
But like in the future, is there some way we could be prepared for that, to help the community out?
We could try.
if we don't, nobody else will, they're
Yeah,
right
we
there.
have the website, I'm just frustrated
Sure.
having people never even go look at it.
It's not really our
What else we
function,
can do? No,
but
it's not our.
but you're
function.
right, we're the only central location.
Right.
Well, and you're a governmental unit.
Yeah. No, that's true, we're the only central location.
you probably have to, like he said, it was all health department, so we have to
Yeah.
probably set up some kind of communication. Like,
Yeah, it's Collier County Health,
Right.
they make all the
like a
calls.
connection.
But this woman I spoke to, I mean, she had so much research on this and how much time it took her. And unfortunately, with the results, it didn't happen because it's so late. So I said I'd bring it up and see in the future, something like this. Yeah, I think that's, yeah. So that's, no, that's all I have.
Anyone else? No.
I keep getting, I know it's mostly my gamers and stuff, but I mean, in the future, as far as the budgeting and whatnot, I know we're a ways out. But once the, majority of the, building is all done out here, I mean, it's pretty much gonna be wrapped up, all except for that in the back. Everybody's talking, there's too many people just driving around, driving in, driving around. So many people like walking the streets and everything. Everybody's still talking to me about gates in the future. You know what I mean? Operating through your cell phones or phone call or whatever. I mean, I just want that out there so that we can maybe think about that, put that in the budget or something. I mean,
You're gonna have an extra 600 to 800 people rolling around within the next 2 years.
Plus, how
Just
many
for
gates you
this.
have to put up?
Yeah.
That was our biggest holdup with this. There's 3 entrances.
right? Yeah, you have the Orchard Cove entrance. Yeah, it can't be out front. It would have to be, it would have to be right at Orchard Cove and right at the other two, wherever, I don't know. Well, you'd have to let them into the hotel, so it'd have to be beyond the hotel. But I'm just saying.
Yep.
If we can get some, we'll have
Then,
to look
all right.
at some costs.
If I have company, how do I get them in?
They call you on your phone, like that, find
There's
your
ways-
phone, let them in.
there's plenty of ways to do it.
Oh, yeah.
The cell service, yeah.
But,
Yeah, we're not gonna have a gate person or anything like that. You
No,
know?
no.
the question I've always had about gates, et cetera, is almost every time you go to buy your homeowner's insurance, they ask you to file, is it a gated community?
Sure.
What is the difference as far as your rate goes? In other words, yes, there's some upfront expense to put in gates, but in the long run, if our residents are saving X number of dollars per individual because we have the gate on their homeowner's policy, if they be a wash.
Yeah. Well, they used to tell me that about my fire insurance used to, or my homeowner's insurance used to be higher because I didn't have a fire department. And then,
Right.
you know,
Yep.
and then they put it in and they said, well, that doesn't mean shit. So,
I went down $100 when we had to.
Did it? Yeah, mine did. So, anyway.
We're, in one of my communities, they're creating in fact, your partner is engineering at Charlie.
Okay.
But they're putting an emergency exit out of there. There's only one entrance, is a 2,000 unit development, and there's only one way in and out, and so they're putting an emergency one in. And so I can give you the cost of that. It's one of the sliders, so it's not one that opens.
A lot of places have with the little credit card thing, you know, it's a strip, you just put it on a pad, very, very simple. You can shut them off, turn on anybody you want in a moment's notice. Somebody has to manage it, you can do it from a laptop, and they're simple, they're real simple.
That's the biggest expense that I
that's right.
saw in another community where they had a gate, we managed it. It was always down.
Yeah.
The man gates aren't too bad, but then you can always go to a remote man gate where it's a virtual guard. And that's cheaper than a live guard.
Yeah, but when they don't
just
work.
the gate, they don't work. You
There's
do
a
it with a
community here, I've
clicker
been
or
locked out
whatever.
3 times.
Yeah,
I don't even go there.
they're always breaking down.
Yeah. They're maintenance centers.
Yeah.
They are, and then can we get maintenance out here quick?
It's what kind of gate? The sliders seem to be the least expensive ones. The ones that go like this, the pretty ones, forget.
Got twice as much to go wrong with
Yeah.
those too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah.
People
I
are
know we did ask
Yeah,
that a lot.
I can share that cost with you
Yeah.
once we get it, it's Delaterra, but as soon as we get that cost.
Maybe to look a little bit at the plant dedications too and see how they read as far as public.
Well, they are public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of them are public, so somehow you've got to be able to allow access for private.
Well, another one is codes. You have a code pack too. You know, there are a lot of them in Key West, it's just the date, it could be anything. And so if you have a guest coming, the code this month is XYZ, whatever.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Logistically, how would that work, like on Newport, like, I've got preserves behind my condo, okay? How far can you can't put the fence into the preserves, so
No.
all somebody has to do is just go around the fence and come in that way.
Oh,
I'm
you
just
mean the
thinking
backside?
logistically.
Yeah.
Gates only keep the vehicles out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
not
vehicles.
vehicles, just vehicles, bicycles, you know.
Even if you fence it, then unless you have some kind of monitoring on the fence itself.
And then you
too, it's
got
small
water
security limit.
access, I mean, if a thief wants to get in, they're gonna get in.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Then you got your property for sale, you want people to drive through the neighborhood.
Yeah.
If they're looking at the neighborhood.
Real quick comment, we are doing the mosquito spraying now.
Yes.
And next fiscal year, I put a increase for that, not for the time, but for the gas.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh,
getting
yeah.
quite expensive for me to drive from Naples, so
Yeah.
that's in there. And then our
Is he on an
contract every
annual
year,
contract?
3%. He's on, it's an evergreen, it's just until you want to terminate him.
Okay, because if we up that because of gas, he needs to up his contract with us.
Right. Yeah, we'll put together an amendment. It's not till October, but I put it in the budget and, okay.
The other thing we need to check is if we have any people under contract, when their contract is renewed.
Yeah.
If it has to be renewed for this coming budget year, we need to look at that.
Yeah, Soto's about the only one, the rest of them, ours is evergreen, it just goes on, and in the budget every year, we put in an increase, and you guys say no, and.
I think
Mitch is a
utilities
3-year,
was a
right?
3-year.
Yeah, Mitch is a 3-year.
We might be in the second year of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And
have a
Soto
couple
updated
other
his
small
last
ones,
year.
of Soto, we have the generator maintenance, we have a couple other small
Yeah.
ones like that, but, and then, the mosquito spray.
Right, okay.
One last thing for you folks that are here, there've been there've been a ton of very helpful comments on Nextdoor that help us make decisions from you. And a lot more of you are coming to these meetings now because we want to hear you. We We want to act on what you think. It's your place. And especially now, it's becoming more and more your little place. So we want to know what you think. I do want to say one thing. A couple of people, and we all know who they are, have made some pretty derogatory comments about the board. And anybody that's been on the board, anybody that's on now, it's a thankless job. It's a volunteer job. And it's to help the community. Nobody's sitting here that doesn't want to help the community and help us and make it the best place to live we can. But except for Terry putting in the big casino out back, none of us are getting a dime from this thing, okay? And she promised all of us limo rides. But other than that, we're not getting any money from this thing. We're not. Nobody's getting it. None of us even knew about Zeman. We never even heard about Zeman until he gave us the letter. Who the hell's this? So try, if you tell your neighbors, say, kind of calm that down, because, you know, we're really trying to do the best thing for everybody here. We really, really are.
To that point, I do have something I wanted to discuss, and that is an assessment. And that came from next door. And the reason I'm proposing doing it now is we have the letter of intent that we can back out of it any time. If it comes back more than 2 million and we choose to get out of it, we give them back their 50 grand and we can raise the price. If it comes back less, they might choose to get out of it, but then we keep the 50 and they back out and we still have the property. So that's my thought. And I wonder what yours was.
What do you mean the assessment?
Appraisal, I meant appraisal. Wrong A word, sorry.
So you're saying get it appraised?
Get it appraised.
But isn't the cost of an appraisal high?
No, it's like $3,000 to $5,000 for a business property.
For a commercial
Commercial property.
For a flat hunk of land?
Flat hunk of land,
No
that's all we
buildings.
have. I think it's worth it.
And you get a letter of assessment with it. If, at the very least, it keeps their feet to the fire, you know.
And it will appease a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, the people want it. I mean,
yeah.
the people want.
A lot of people did say that, a
appraisal.
lot of people, more than anything else.
It just seems.
Well, back to next door, yes, a lot of people had a lot to say.
You're right.
Without knowledge behind it.
That's right.
They come in on this wave
Yeah,
and they just believe
true.
whatever they hear, and they don't take a minute to call one of us
Right.
and ask some of the
That's
background.
true.
And I don't think people even realize how long we've been struggling with this land. And financially, you know, we're out of time.
But
But
we're
I-
in a great situation now to get that appraisal because we could, you know, they could back out, yeah, but we still have the $50,000. Or if it's a lot more money, say it's 3 million, maybe we give back their 50 and change the price.
Terry, one thing a lot of people, including me, when they bought the land, when the board bought the land, I was all behind it, 100% behind it. Good little, made perfect business sense. But I always question why in 3 or 4 years, they never had a real commercial appraisal done. All they did was they had Jeannie Kungle say, well, it's worth $2 million. That was it. There was never an appraisal done. And regardless, when you're talking about $2 or $3 million, what's $3 grand? Okay, so would you pay $3 grand to make $1 million? Yeah, I would. And so a lot of people are, and the other thing is people feel it was a rush to judgment. In some instances it was, I agree. The land's been for sale a long time, but it's never been with a commercial or an international broker. Never, ever, ever. It's been an RFP on the POICID website that nobody looks at that lives here. So nobody's gonna go there looking, okay, except guys who wanna steal it for whatever. If it was given to a commercial brokerage, what would it be worth? But then we say to ourselves, well, maybe we don't want the kind of business that a commercial broker is going to bring. What if they want to bring a hotel here? Do we really want a hotel back there? What if they're going to do this? What if they're going to do that? The people who brought Zeman to us are what I call headhunters. That's what they do. They're in Tampa, and they find properties for sale that Zeman and other big companies might want to buy. That's how it works. It's a real estate agent. That's where he's from, Tampa. So they're not bad people. He brought somebody to the table. I think in this market, people are saying, well, what the hell, when a lot over there's $100 grand, or how come we never got this appraised? And we never got this appraised by a real broker. I mean, a real appraiser, not a broker, appraiser.
And the other thing is, you said that there was another offer on the table, another letter that wasn't Scott, so that's 3 interested parties. I mean, I feel like maybe we're missing $1 million. I don't know, I'm just trying, you know.
If we can get an appraisal for between 3 and 5, like they said, then should we do it?
I think so.
Yes.
Because an appraisal even 6 months ago wouldn't mean anything now.
Right.
Right.
It's already changed.
Right.
So.
I make a motion to get our property professionally appraised.
I'll second it.
How long is that gonna take to
Oh,
set
it
up?
shouldn't take long at all.
Is it gonna, the only question I have, is it gonna change anything?
If I,
Yeah, she's saying if it's higher, then give the guy back his 50,000. Isn't that what you're saying?
I'm saying we discuss it, but we're in the driver's seat.
yeah, being in the driver's seat's the key. And listen,
No, if it comes back 3 million, you're gonna say give him back his 50,000.
Or, yeah, and change our price tag.
And what happens if it comes back 1.5?
we don't tell them, but it's
No, we
public
can tell him,
record.
it's public record, but you know what, he still has a letter of intention, he might give us back the 50, but if he backs out, we still get to keep the 50,000. I mean, if he backs out, but I don't think he's going to, not for, you know, I don't know.
Are we also including the fact of the ERCs, what we make every year?
But you're gonna
Is it
anyway.
sold?
You're gonna anyway, do we?
No,
We have to
if it's
look
not
at it.
sold, no, we're not gonna get those.
Well, no, you're right,
ERCs
if it's not
Until
sold.
it's sold.
You're right.
What scares me is how long we waited to, to get it sold. That could happen again to us, because the market's gonna crash.
Oh,
We know
you're right,
that.
so we didn't really
Yeah.
try hard to sell it, is my point. We really didn't. at
Well, you
all.
couldn't with that hotel back there.
Yeah, that's
We
an
had everything
excuse.
against
I mean,
us.
there was a
We contacted developers directly,
yeah,
probably a dozen of them. And I myself showed the property to 3 developers, different
It
developers.
didn't sit dormant.
no, but it was never really marketed. It never really
It
was.
was never through a real estate agent.
Right,
This other,
Now, you have Scott offered,
Yeah.
it was verbal, 500,000. He
yeah,
said it's not worth any more.
yeah, he told me that.
Yeah, and then the other offer, which he didn't know, now maybe he picked it up off of the minutes or something, but the one that came in is at 2 million also.
But you
And
see,
she
they're all
didn't say
banking on this
2 million.
first number.
She said 40, she broke it down to a cost per acre
Yeah,
of vacant land. She said 40,000 per acre.
What is the land valued at across the highway? Or Cage Drive?
one's up for sale for 6 or 7.
And it's been up that way for
yeah.
12 years. that
It's
I-
only worth it somebody to pay
One's
for it.
commercial too.
Yeah, and it's got direct frontage to 41. This
Right.
is across from a wastewater plant.
Right.
And a shooting range.
And a shooting range.
It's true. I think if we're honest about it, when they threw $2 million at us, we're all saying, hello, I did, I did, but I just think moving forward, there's a lot of people here that thought it was a rush to judgment. It wasn't meant to be, but it was. And we slowed Zeman down. They originally wanted us to sign the LOI January 6th. We got the letter January 2nd.
They have been looking at it.
Yeah, and they've been looking at it for a long time. Is there anything wrong with that? No. What do they say in residential? Your first offer is often your best one. We're not saying they're bad. I think there's just a lot of people who want to make sure that we're not leaving a lot of money on the table.
I have a question, and that is, okay. They said, okay, we're gonna give you 2 million. Now, I would think from a business standpoint of view, they know how much that land is worth. And we jumped on the 2 million. What if it is worth 3 or 4? Okay?
If it's 4 or 5 and nobody wants it.
Okay, but if it's only worth 1.5, at least they're probably gonna come back and say, okay, it's only worth 1.5, we'll give you 1.5 for it. We still sold it, okay, but we sold it at what the true appraised value was, okay?
So you're willing to lose 500,000 if that were to happen, plus additional time and not getting any ERC revenue?
No, but what I'm saying is I will lay odds that they already know. This corporation already knows what that land is worth.
Worth
And
to
that-
them.
To them.
Yeah, to them.
Yes, okay? So I mean, are they allowed to go and get that land appraised before they said, yeah, we'll give you 2 mil?
Oh, sure.
I mean, they
Sure
may have had
did.
appraisals done on it already. Their company could have appraised it already, and they say, oh, it's worth 3, but they're willing to sell it to us for 2.
Just out of
I'm
curiosity,
just saying.
sure, show of hands, how many people here today would
Yeah.
like an appraisal? Okay. How many people are against it?
It's close.
Very close.
It's up to you. It's just a thought. Listen, a bird in the hand's worth 2 in the bush. There's a lot of ways to look at it.
Yeah, and, the other thing, we're talking about working on refunding
Yeah,
some of the increase of the ERCs.
yeah,
This delays that happening. too.
true. It delays everything.
So, yeah.
Well, it doesn't. Getting the appraisal doesn't delay anything. But, I mean, I will tell you this. I've done negotiating my whole life, and I don't trust anybody. And these Zeman guys have been straight up. Everything I've asked for, they've done so far, without any hesitation, without any jerking at all. That usually doesn't happen. And I think the only thing that's rocking people a little bit is them coming up with a number right out of the box. That doesn't happen usually either. But they did, which shows intent, okay? I think they're straight up. If I had one little thing, just one little thing that's bothering me, it's the way the LOI is written, the first paragraph, it's Siemens Homes. So it's Siemens Luxury RV Park, and there are 2 or 3 other things that he owns. One of them is making park model trailers. And the question that's been asked by a lot of people to me, what happens if the market goes bang, which it will, you just said it, and the luxury RV market falls on its butt again, they're still going to do something with that land. Is he going to say, well, we're going to put trailers back there?
Kenny, if it's in the contract,
Yeah.
RV,
He can.
55 and over.
Read the LOI, the first paragraph. It says, and assigns. He owns the assigns.
Right, I agree with what you're saying there. My question to you is, what does that have to do with the appraised value?
That's what I thought.
No, separate thought.
Okay.
We're just talking about seeing, it has nothing to do with the appraised value.
Right,
In
okay.
the LOI,
It said no park models.
no
You
park
brought that up.
It says no park models. What if it's trailers? In other words, it's not, when I ask them, will you put motorized? Absolutely not. Okay, and I get it. There's some huge fifth wheels. I get it. And that's okay. That was refining it too much. However, if you go up the road and you look at Naples Motor Coach Park, that's all motorized RVs. That's a guarantee that nothing else is going to go in here. When he puts in and assigns, and you go up to the wave of the road here that they purchased and they now own, that's almost all trailers. And the difference is a trailer park versus $1 million buses. And it's a big difference.
But they bought it as is. They didn't do that. They bought it.
Oh, no, I know that. But I'm saying with this, it says and assign.
Let me ask you this, do we have that kind of control, or
No.
is it the county ordinance on what they can do?
No, because,
it's the county ordinance.
Yeah.
yeah, but the county, if they say and assigns and we agree to it on the LOI, but we agree to it, the county's not gonna
But the
say,
county already has a 6-month limit.
Yeah.
Those things can only be there for 6 months and they have to be movable.
And you
Okay,
have,
that's a
you
good
have the
point.
right to be more strict
yeah.
than the county.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, you make it in your negotiations that you're more strict with the county.
So then the and signs, I'm just asking, this isn't a challenge, doesn't make you nervous.
And, may I speak for a second? And/or assigns could mean that they have the right to give it to another party if they wanted to, what they've established. But and/or assigns, normally, that would be they want to create a specific LLC for here. It might be
Right.
Foot of the Islands
Right.
Motor Coach LLC.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's usually what
Yeah. Okay.
happens.
That's really, so far, the only concern I have with them.
I just think that asking for an appraisal at this point is counterproductive. I personally think that if it falls through, I'm all in favor of getting an appraisal for next time. But I think we've made the decision that this is the way we want to go. Again, bird in the hand or bird in the bush. And I just don't think that it does anything for the whole process by getting an appraisal done after the fact. That's just my own personal opinion.
What I think is, if we get an appraisal and it comes back lower, the committee's gonna go, what'd you get the appraisal for? If we get an appraisal and it comes back higher, right, in other words, we're never gonna be, no matter what.
Never gonna win.
It's a bird in the hand.
Right.
Yeah, never gonna win.
We're not gonna.
Yeah, if it falls through, like you said, yes, we need to do that. But we won't do it.
Of that.
If this deal falls
If this
through.
deal falls through, if you didn't get an appraisal the first time, what makes me think that you're gonna get an appraisal the second time?
We're saying now, if the deal falls through, we'll get
We'll
an
get an
appraisal. We're not gonna take the other deal, we'll get an appraisal.
The last time we talked about an appraisal on this property, the market was pretty dead out there.
Yeah.
I mean, that COVID changed everything.
Oh, yeah.
As far as the market down here. So, I think, well, that's all speculation, it doesn't matter.
And yes, the advantage is the hotel's gone now.
Yeah.
That is to our.
That's a huge advantage.
But don't forget, this went on before the hotel was gone.
Okay, is there any other discussion by the board? Do you have a motion and a second to do a appraisal for $3,000 to $5,000?
It's a crapshoot.
It is a crash.
Any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay.
Days have it.
It fails, 2 to 3.
But that's all right.
That's a crazy question. Yeah, $2 million price tag on the property,
Yes.
right? In your negotiations, you're going to negotiate roads and trees and berms for noise and orchid cones and walls, so you're not looking at spoilers, right?
Yes.
Out of that $2 million, how much do you expect to keep? So
Well,
think of your expenses.
That's an excellent question, and the answer I got surprised me. Impact fees.
Sure.
Yes.
So I asked that same exact question, and I didn't know about impact fees. So impact fees go on the buyer.
Which are fees to our community, the
Right.
So
impact
you
to our
expect to
community.
walk away with $2 million at this point?
I do.
Yeah. We can write it up that way. I mean, we can make them, we think the property.
That's the negotiation.
That's the
You
negotiation.
still have some obligation to do
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Absolutely. You're in agreement with the county, and that was a condition on the water plant
Absolutely.
to do that road. So, but you only have to do it to a certain level,
Right.
and
Right, but
they're gonna have to have it more. So it is negotiable, but you're going to spend some money on that.
Yeah, but once you say that David Holmes wants to use that road to enter their park or something, that could be negotiated.
Everything's negotiable.
Everything's
Everything's negotiable, but the board has a legal responsibility to pave that road. With or without ZEMA.
Right.
Yeah.
To a basic level.
Right, so back to that question, the $2 million, you're asking about appraisals, and this ties right into it, because if you're going to walk away with $2 million, actually you might be getting a little more than $2 million in effect in your negotiation process, right?
Yes.
And if you negotiate a bunch of those expenses that we're gonna pay for, now you're only really walking over the $1 million
Yeah.
or something. So
Yeah.
it really, the appraisal also ties into what you're gonna do in negotiations and how you go into them. You know, are we looking to walk away with 2 million? Or are we going to plan on eating some of that? On the last meeting, it sounded like we were gonna fix the roads and maybe be involved in some of the other expenses.
Yeah, that's what concerned me too.
Right, so.
At the last meeting, I said, and I brought up that as an RVer, you're not gonna want a dirt road sitting back there. It's going to have to be macadam or whatever. And, we need to, you know, in our negotiations with them. But I can tell you, I'm in favor of coming away with the most amount of money we can come away with.
I get that. What's that gonna be? Because to me, you know, appraisal is one thing, but actually what you're gonna do in the future in your negotiations is gonna be as important as any appraisal that we have.
Well, like he said, we have to pay for the basic road.
Anyway.
Everything above the basic road, they're gonna pay for.
Yeah.
That's,
We want to find out, we're going to get as much juice out of this orange as
That's
we can
right.
get. And it's not going to go overnight, and it's going to be, as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of talent sitting here.
Finish the impact fee statement you started, because I don't think he knows how much money that is.
Impact fees is a ton. Okay, what we stand to make, everything is a gamble, everybody has to win a little, and it's always a negotiation. It's up to us to cut the sweetest deal for us, and that's where we're going with this. But we don't know how deep their pockets are gonna be. I will tell you, if you go in a helicopter above the tides in Tampa and you look at it, and you look at how much they spent on their thing, it's pretty good. What we're saying is the water and sewer's already there, power's there, even though that's not us. The impact, really, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, would be the road, which it's like we're Collier County for this district. We have to do a road, no matter what. Whether they're here or not, we've got to do a road. The old board put it off as soon as the developer comes in, Well, now there's a developer coming in. And we got to see if we can negotiate that. The biggest can of worms, write it down today, is right out here. That's going to be the big can of worms. Got to increase the traffic count. There's got to be sidewalks. And in my opinion, there's got to be a light at the entrance door. Because I'm going to tell you, get these guys, there's people coming out of the gun range now. I'm a member of the gun range. They're flying through here now. And it's not good. And the sheriffs don't want to sit there and babysit. So there's going to have to be lights for Orchid Cove. It's going to have to. So, but to answer your question, there's a lot of things they've got to come up with, and there's a lot of things the county are going to insist on. Protection for Orchid Cove. I don't want to look at this every day, and I walk down there 5 times a day. They're saying that won't happen, because the county is going to put in built-in protection. So it's going to be some cost, but we're going to keep it as minimal as possible. As far as I'm concerned, we're going to get more than $2 million. That's how I feel about it. You know.
Okay.
Rita had her.
Oh, yeah, we're in audience comments right now.
Yeah.
Dan, you were the first one. Rita? Yeah,
I'm in
comment?
total agreement
Yeah.
that this is where our focus should be.
Oh, absolutely.
Number one. Number two, I want a lawyer like the ties have, because I'm not sure that's gonna be protected. I want this, like, I understand we're required to do this regrading. How much of that goes into the discussion about road?
All of it. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be a finished product.
Where does the grading start and stop?
Well, where does grading start?
By the old hotel, right, at the end of the road?
I mean, physically, where does it start?
Correct, where it starts turning to gravel.
Where the gravel.
Gravel, right at the
The
hotel.
Lime Rock Road is gonna be regraded.
Yeah,
Say that again.
Lime Rock Road,
Okay, I'm not.
the dirt road,
right, over here, to the right.
where it starts to be dirt. at the end of the page.
At the end of the gun
Front of the water plant.
Yeah, no, before
No,
water.
before it.
The dormitory.
Yeah.
Yes.
All the way
All the way
around
to the gun club.
And all the way to the gun,
Yeah.
to the entrance of the gun.
I was gonna say to the entrance of.
Entrance of the gun.
We're not-
And that is the requirement that we,
It's our road.
it's our.
Yeah, it's our road.
Yeah.
That was our requirement apparently when they built the water plant. The water plant, that we had to do this, they just put it off up until now because they were waiting for a developer.
Honestly, Rita,
Now, wait,
Go
my
ahead.
question is, okay, so then we have a new kid in town coming with their development. And I'm just confused. Will there be no discussion about more improvement of that road to handle everything that they're gonna do?
there's gonna be discussion on everything.
Yeah, because
Everything.
chances are, they're gonna want it paved.
Yeah.
We don't need it paved, we
No.
don't want it paved, and that'll be
The
negotiated.
county will require it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's gonna be two parties involved. The
Yeah.
county's gonna require certain minimum things to be brought up,
Okay.
and that will affect all the way to their entrance. And then after that, there'll be a requirement that we have a commitment with the water plant to upgrade that road from rock to pavement to the gun club.
So are there the same kind of discussions for any proposed person who's coming into the dormitory room?
Sure.
Yeah, there would be.
Well, I'm not-
They'd actually have to be part of it since that's on their road too.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's, I'm not being wise now. It doesn't matter if it's the left side of the road or the right side. They're entitled to the same thing. It's been put off forever because there's nothing back there and there was no money to do it. So now it's a focal point. To be clear, the reason we've never really done it, if we're honest, going back to the gun club, which has been extremely unfair to Lou, is because A, Lou's a very easygoing guy, and he said, well, okay, and B, nobody wanted to do it because they don't really generate a lot of income. It's two ERCs, they don't pay much, and it's, it's 22 grand
No,
to
I
fix the
get all
road.
that. I'm just trying
Yeah.
I'm trying to get a feel for just what this gentleman was talking about. I want to know that all of that is gonna be negotiated to our advantage.
As much as it can be.
And
Close as you
I'm
can.
still interested in the entrance to Orchid Cove, because I'm really concerned about
I agree.
it. Really, really concerned.
But I will tell you, so far, they're not fighting us, and that's a big deal. They may come out with their guns blazing once we start the P&S. But so far, they've been pretty reasonable.
And we have the right to walk out of the deal if they don't want to meet what we want.
I have a question, and it's before my time, it's going on after I moved here, but did you have an RV park back there?
Yes. For the trailer park,
That
yeah.
was,
Yeah, I know it was awful, but it was there.
Yeah.
Rats running around back there.
Yeah. Well, they didn't have any water, sewer, or anything back there. They just had it like a pavement.
That was the Wild West.
Yeah, there's pipes out there.
I think there was, they had water and sewer right there someplace.
Then there was a development agreement and a building permit issued for a new one that just fell apart when the market
Yeah.
died in 2008.
That's a lot of people.
Okay, any other comments?
Yeah.
I just had a couple of things. One, I wanted to say that I agree with the gates. We talked about that years ago. The community talks about it all the time. We had a couple of boats stolen, the year of the hurricane, that kind of thing. Whole boats, trailer boats, the whole thing is down and gone. I live right at the end of Stelmars North where it meets the canal. It's probably the closest road that goes to the canal in our community. We have people come down there 15 times a day and park their cars and want to look at the manatees. And it's just busy all the time right there. That it's really good. Gates would be a wonderful thing. I asked Jeannie Congo years ago when we were looking at different things we could do in our community, condo community. First thing she said is that I asked her what we could do that would raise prices and things like that, support the neighborhood more. first thing she said was, well, 75% of the people that come to Florida want to gated communities.
Now, there's a smart woman right there that said
That's
that.
just, she said that years ago, I'm talking several years ago, right? So those things always stuck in my mind, and I'm for a gated community. I like the idea. The other thing I have with Cal, we talked a little bit about our road, Stelmars North. That thing's been in need of work for a long time. I read through the sheets you sent. I don't agree with the split fee costs for road surface. Is that something we have to take up with the board, or is that an
It
issue?
needs to be an agenda item. This is the issue when the Stella Maris
Yeah.
and the paving, and the agreement that when you took the roads over, and so that would have to be an agenda item. Write me up something that, why you disagree, and I'll put it before the board. But the board
The
has
last
reviewed it.
repair,
and
we
considered it.
paid 100%
You did. We had
because of what was going on with the retention walls.
Match.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get into that. I was in the negotiations. I helped write the agreement with the Cox back when we did that. We turned it over. I think, Gal, I think you're reading a little more into the agreement than what was there.
It came from the engineer and the attorney both.
While I was there the whole time
Okay.
together. So we're gonna have we have a difference in opinion and how that's gonna work. But we'll put it
Jeff?
Yeah, two quick and easy items. Okay, number one, want to confirm, second Friday, 9:30. meeting.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
So the next
Next
meeting
month.
would be the 9th.
All right, good. So I'll reserve the clubhouse for that. Second thing is, I may have missed this, I'm sorry, I apologize. But there was under new business, I'm sorry, not under new business, under a building and report, electrical panels repair update. Did I miss something on that?
Robert actually covered it.
That would be fun. So that center panel there on Union, is that what was?
Yes, that was part of it that's being fixed.
Fixed, okay. All right.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Any other, yes, ma'am?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about the night meetings, and changing the meetings. I plan my life around this, how sad is my life. But a doctor's appointment or travel, so I'll miss the next meeting, and it'll be the fourth meeting I've ever missed in the 4.5 years I've lived here. In the 4.5 years I've lived here, as you know, that have been on here for a while, once this calms down, nobody's gonna be here. It's gonna be me and John, and any of the other code members that have wanted.
But we have more
and Kat
around,
Chris.
I think you just talk out.
How are you? There'll be. I'll represent that. So that, so just keep in mind that people are gonna come home from work at night, they're gonna be tired, they're not gonna wanna come here to sit for 3 or 4 hours. So just as you go forward, thinking about putting it at night, just wanted you to keep that in mind that nobody's gonna come. And the second thing was, I'm very confident in Terry's ability to do a budget. But in the 4.5 years that I've been sitting here, every year I heard, once the plant is paid, your fees will go down. And I understand we have expenses going up, but it's, just want to put that out there. We've been told, once that plant was paid, our fees would go down. That's it.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we need I'm sorry.
Now,
Yes, I have a question.
Okay, I'll get you 1 second. We've got someone else.
Oh, okay. I live over here on Newport, and I've had a few people ask me to ask you all if you would respectfully entertain the idea of speed bumps. I know people aren't happy about speed bumps. I almost got hit on my bike riding traffic on Newport. Fly down there at 35 to 50 mile an hour.
Speeding.
I ride against traffic just for safety purposes because when I'm walking, people just go flying through there. Speed bumps, Lately doesn't have a problem with the speed bumps. Like maybe every quarter mile or so you put a speed bump in, and if you're going at 40 mile an hour, you deserve to have your car tore up. I just, it's supposed to be, 20?
Yeah, fire departments hate them.
I think 30, isn't it 30?
Well, I'm not saying like up there where the fire department, well,
No,
yeah,
they-
I mean, if they have to get to the end of Newport, they'd obviously have to go over the speed bump.
Right.
A lot of places don't allow speed bumps anymore, like City of Marco, they're forbidden by ordinance.
Well, we put them in our church parking lot, and Marco Island told us we had to take them out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's private property. But anyway, I don't know what the ordinance is, I don't know what the,
I don't think they're good
why
for
you bring it up, because.
I don't think they're good for vehicles.
There's
Well, no,
there's
they're
different
not.
kinds of speed bumps too. Speed bumps have a bad name only because they're real sharp and happen real quick. If you were looking to do anything or even could do anything, you'd probably want to look at what's called a speed hump.
Yeah.
More
Yeah,
gradual and so forth.
Yes. Just something to speed, I mean,
That's what they got in lately.
yeah, just something to slow cars down, not bump them over.
One of our
Slow.
communities is looking at that, Charlie is. But the determination they made is that they really don't slow traffic down. They decided not to proceed with it.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, we've still got some
No,
questions,
I've got one.
still got some comments. Somebody on the line had a question.
Yes, I do. I would like to know if you could say, tell me, what is ERC? They keep mentioning that, and I don't know what that means, ERC.
Residential credit
Connection.
Connection fee.
It's a connection fee? Okay. And secondly, I wanted to know,
The
when you were
annual,
talking about landscaping, there on, there's a house on Case Drive, and they have a tree there, and it's protruding right into the sidewalk. Is there something, there's 3 trees, is there something that can be done about that, or is that just something that the owner can do?
a email, I can forward it to Michelle, and she can discuss it with Robert.
Robert, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Or contact Michelle directly, that's up to you. Okay, who was this?
All right, thank you.
All I see is a caller number 5. Could you give me your name, please, for the minutes? Okay. Any other, I heard 2 people say they had comments.
And I'm not letting you either, so.
Okay, I don't hear anyone else asking. We're ready for a motion to adjourn.
Wait, I got one more little thing. Everybody, we keep talking about the assessments and reducing assessments. I'm all for that. And I've been after La Castro, okay, because of our fire rate out here, which you're familiar with. We're supposedly at 4 going to 3.7.
3.5.
Yeah.
Still pretty heavy.
Immokalee, Evergreen City, Ave Maria, they're all in the 3s. The rest of the county is 1.5. My goal, I don't know how we're gonna do it, or I'm gonna do it, but is to make everybody the same. I can't get past the fact that Greater Naples is now everywhere. The purpose for consolidation was to reduce administrative overhead so that the cost would be, lowered. And why the working people that are in Everglades City, Immokalee, Ave Maria, here, whatever, pay at least double what everybody else in the county pays. So I don't know if we have any power to organize anything to make people aware. Or
Part of the problem, I'm on the fire board, and part of the problem is we're more in a great area. It isn't only our community.
but we don't pay more for sheriffs.
No.
And
But
that's a great community. They got still
but
pay the same
they're
guys.
looking to merge us all. But it was like a 10-year contract. The 10 years are up. They didn't get our rate down. So they renewed that contract. They still don't own us. So until they own us,
What do you mean they don't? They're not the Greater Naples?
they're under contract to run us. But we're not under them. Not
We're
yet.
under Ochapi, right?
Yeah, we're still on Joplin. We're still an independent fire district. And,
I thought we were independent. I thought we were county.
no, the county is looking to take us over. They have like an interlocal agreement, but it's
Well,
not.
Greater Naples used to be the independent. Right, and Ochapi was the county. Now it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Ochapi was not the county. It's
No.
an independent fire district in the county.
Right. It wasn't county.
Isla Capri is independent. We're independent. There's about 2 others that are independent. But one of the problems you have is, even in our district, there's a fire station by I-75. The transportation department supposedly is collecting tolls, and it's like $1.5 million that they're putting in the fire department's budget. They're saying this year they don't have it. Because people haven't been traveling.
And the bill money's all, and the bill money's all to the general fund, which is all us.
Is the big fight here, is trying to get that bill money that comes in because of our land in our area to be used towards us.
Right, instead of Gulf Shore Boulevard.
The problem with the county, if you're paying 1.5, we're paying 4, that means you have to pay more to lower us, and that's not fair. They don't want to do that. So
Then
they're
let it
trying
burn.
to find
Then
other ways.
Let Everglades burn.
They almost did a few years ago.
Well, second.
They were pretty close.
Yeah, well, that burn got away from them.
Yeah.
But that's $500 back per con. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's big money.
But
That
that's
would
why
help.
I'm on the fire board trying to get that down.
Right.
Rita?
Keep working.
Everything goes up, nothing goes down.
Ending note, I do want you all to know that we do appreciate you and your time.
Thank you.
And because of that, if you want to hold your meetings on the morning because it's good for you guys, as far as I'm concerned, you're willing to come and do the drill, it needs to be your decision. That's number one. Number two, I understand there's been promises that things will go down, but real estate and living and development is dynamic.
I understand
It has changed, and I understand you had people telling you it was gonna go down, but I'm a conservative giver. If we need to save money in order for expenses coming down the pike that we're not sure about, I'd rather at this point take the stand that we can be conservative and save. We know the impact of all that's gonna be. I'm agree, anybody wants to.
I'm with you, I mean, $100
$100
a year isn't
money,
gonna make that big
I'll
of a
take
difference.
it. However, I want good stewardship, and I think that the discussion that you have constantly and all of the considerations that you bring to the table, I feel more confident than I have in all the years I've lived here, that you will make decisions for our better good.
We would make better decisions if we could have the meeting at your house and you cook breakfast.
Well.
And you've got a big living room and kitchen.
Okay,
Just a quick historical note. I remember a CID meeting, maybe 3 years ago, where the fire department reps were actually here. And they talked about this transition and, the contract and how it was supposed to gradually go down over time, and I tell you, I haven't really followed whether it has, but it might be nice to invite those people back again.
But right now, they're in a transition for a new leader.
I talked to Castro and he gave me nothing, so.
Yeah.
You were here that day.
Maybe directly to the fire department.
Yeah, but it's it's up to the commissioners to break it down how the tax breaks.
Well, if it takes 5, I mean, he just got voted down, with some other issues. I mean, I think he's doing.
Takes 5 of them.
It takes, there's 5 of them, and it takes 3.
Yeah.
Well, I know McDaniel too, I'm gonna get him over him, so.
Yeah.
The problem is, this is 805 square miles.
I know what the problem is. I'm just saying it might be a good idea to invite people directly involved with the fire district. to understand what you mean.
Motion to adjourn.
is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.